Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching first part of what if Naruto gained ability of a mystic tiger but at a deadly cost. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no time, let's start the story.
Amidst the darkness that shrouded the world, the stars gave playful winks. The tops of the trees rustled as a breeze blew through the clearing. As the moon moved into the sky and illuminated the world, crickets chirped in the grass. In the empty clearing, a young blonde was lying there, staring up at the sky. Uzumaki Naruto was his name. The boy, relaxed in the middle of nature, sighed with satisfaction. He wanted to forget about the hateful glares and the villagers' disregard for him because he was going to the academy tomorrow. The blonde jerked into a sitting position and scooted into the forest to hide when a rustle suddenly sounded in the clearing. The rustling grew louder, signaling that something was coming, and the blonde waited anxiously. Naruto's fantasies became increasingly out of control as the seconds passed, and eventually something exploded out of the clearing. All of his fantasies were crushed, and the blonde let out a sigh of relief mixed with a hint of disappointment. Re-entering the clearing, Naruto walked up to the small animal and studied its white coat, which was only broken by the distinctive black lines that alternated down its body. He gazed at the small paws planted firmly on the ground, marveling at the soulful blue orbs that resembled his own. Cat? When Naruto happened to touch the little animal, that was all that was on his mind as a child. In response, the tiger cub snarled and circled the blonde, getting closer with each turn. The tiger cub leapt on Naruto as he retreated, aiming for the blonde's neck. With a startled cry, Naruto thrashed frantically, futilely attempting to remove the tiger cub. The blonde ran into the bushes, tripping on a log and falling head over heels into the brush as the tiger's claws dug into his flesh. The blonde moaned, "Oh, a euro," and tried to relieve the pain by rubbing the back of his head and supporting himself with his elbow. After removing himself from the bush, the young blonde looked around and discovered the tiger cub lying prone on the ground, whimpering in agony as blood spurted from a wound on its neck, turning its immaculate white fur a beautiful scarlet. Water droplets fell from the sky, directing Naruto's gaze to the clouds. Naruto muttered, "Rain?" before advancing back into the clearing through the foliage. With the sky genuinely overcast, the young blonde looked up and blinked as raindrops hit his eyes. With a little more force, the rain finally turned into a sheet that poured down from the sky. The owner of the tiger cub's pelt was whimpering pitifully on the ground as it pressed its small body as far down as it could, and Naruto was about to run home when he exploded back into the brush. When Naruto prodded the small animal, the cat let out another agonized whimper. Naruto told the cub, "Mr. Cat, you're going to get a cold if you don't come home soon." Without replying, the tiger cub fell silent, its eyes drooping shut. Naruto tried again, "Mr. Cat?" The young blonde, who was struggling a little under the weight of the young tiger, chose to show the animal to his Gigi after not getting a response. On his way to the Hokage Tower, Naruto ran through the rain, the liquid pounding a wet tattoo into the sidewalks. Sarutobi was about to finish up and head home after finishing up some paperwork when he heard arguments outside. What could he want at this hour? It must be Naruto. After passing by his desk, the Sandaime yanked open his office door. He was met with the image of Naruto arguing with his secretary while drenched in water and holding a bundle. The Sandaime called to the blonde, "Naruto? Come on in," while his secretary gave the boy a shady glance. One of the few people who didn't hate the boy was his secretary. Naruto was dripping wet and leaving mud stains all over the floor, which is why she was so annoyed. A rainbow would have shied away in embarrassment at that, as well as the fact that he had caught her in a paintball trap that day and colored her so vividly. "So, what brings you here so late? And why are you so wet?" the Sandaime asked after the blonde had shut the door behind him. Naruto placed the tiger cub on the desk and said to his grandfather figure, "I went to the forest and found this. Then it started the raining." "That thing is dangerous," the Sandaime informed the young blonde. "Why'd you bring that here?" "I brought it here because it's bleeding," Naruto said plainly. "Put it back, Naruto," the Sandaime sighed, saying. Naruto gazed at the big blue eyes of his grandfather figure and said, "But it's hurt. Can't you heal it?" "All right." Sarutobi gave in and examined the cat. He pulled out a roll of bandages, cleaned the cub's wound, and then wrapped the cub's neck in them. Naruto interrupted Sarutobi, saying, "It's just a flesh wound. Nothing that won't heal after a while. Just send it back to where you found it in." Naruto called out, "Thanks Gigi," and left the room. Sarutobi simply shook his head at the young blonde's antics and let out a weary sigh. Naruto snuck the tiger cub past the landlord and carried it home. After placing the cub on the floor and locking the door behind him, the young blonde opened the door to his apartment. In order to avoid waking the tiger cub, Naruto cautiously entered the shower. After removing his soaked clothes from his body and throwing them on the ground, the blonde entered the bathtub, turned on the shower, and relished the sensation of warmth that each drop of water provided. Steam filled the air as he stepped out of the bathroom in his pajamas after taking a shower. Leaving the tiger cub in the living room, the young blonde stumbled into his bedroom and collapsed into bed. Despite everything that happened, no one noticed the symbol on his neck. It was placed directly over the wound he had sustained from the tiger cub during the altercation, and it featured a complex design of a paw. Ironically, the tiger had also sustained the wound, and although the cub's wound gushed blood, his had not bled at all. Why is it so hot? Naruto turned on his side beneath the covers and pondered. In a last-ditch effort to cool himself, the young blonde eventually kicked off the covers. The young blonde let out a groan as he pressed the pillow over his ears being brutally attacked by a dispute from the apartment next door. With his eyes wide open, Naruto flipped onto his stomach and threw the pillow across the room. Giving up on sleep, the young blonde padded into the kitchen, brought a carton of milk, and drank it all down. When he returned to his bed, he threw the empty carton in the trash and picked up his pillow from the other side of the room. With a sigh of relief as the argument subsided, he fell back onto his bed. His relief was short-lived, as he clutched both appendages until the pain subsided into a dull ache after it shot up his legs. He whimpered in agony as a headache hammered at the back of his head, threatening to split it in two. Throughout the night, he experienced pain in various places of his body, which made the young blonde bite his pillow to keep from screaming as the temperature changed quickly, going from hot to cold and back again, and his eyes began to hurt. At last, he slipped into the tender embrace of slumber. Even through his eyelids, the sunlight pierced his delicate eyes. The young blonde opened his eyes slowly and peered around weary, ready to be hit by more pain. Nothing took place. What time did I go to sleep? As he got out of bed, Naruto pondered. The condition of his hair made him laugh as he padded into the bathroom and peered into the mirror. The two jaw-length bangs that framed his face and the two tufts of hair that stuck up at the top of his head were the most obvious bedhead features. At that moment, the tiger cub emerged from the bathroom, yawning and flashing its impressive teeth. Naruto said, "Good morning, Mr. Cat," laughing. The cub yawned once more for emphasis. "First of all, I'm a tiger, not a cat. Secondly, I'd rather be sleeping now." Naruto said, "Whoa," it talked, as he retreated from the tiger. The cub yelled angrily, "Please, get it right. I'm not a it, I'm a he." Naruto hesitantly said, "Sorry. Do you have a name, or can I call you Shiro?" "Shiro's nice. I'll keep that name," the tiger cub remarked nonchalantly. Naruto grabbed a toothbrush and put toothpaste on it before asking, "Okay, Shiro. I have to go to the academy, so what are you going to do during that time?" As Shiro watched Naruto brush his teeth, he inquired, "Could I follow you to this academy?" With globules of foam spitting out, Naruto yelled, "What?" Shiro licked his paw to try to clean it, saying, "You heard me, so can I?" Naruto trailed off, "I guess a euro," before washing his face. After drying his face, Naruto threw the towel back onto the rack and turned to face the mirror once more. He grabbed a carton of milk from the refrigerator and made his way to the living room, Shiro following him out of the bathroom. Casting the empty carton into the trash, Naruto asked, "So, what do you eat anyway, Shiro?" Shiro responded, "You don't have to worry about what I eat," and leapt onto the windowsill. "Shiro?" Naruto asked by chance, but the tiger leapt out the window, caught a bird between his teeth, and landed elegantly on the roof's tiles. Naruto exclaimed, "Wow! That's so cool, Shiro." After snapping the bird's neck and pinning it to the ground, Shiro ate it viciously, sending blood flying across the roof as he did so. With a bird carcass obstructing his vision, Naruto turned away and grabbed a piece of bread before joining Shiro on the roof. "I'm done," said Shiro. With a sigh, Naruto said, "I should clear this," then carefully picked up the entrails, went back inside, and tossed them in the trash. "Eva euro," Naruto grumbled as he washed his hands at the sink while holding his piece of bread tightly in his mouth. "Shiro, the next time you hunt, please don't do it on the roof," Naruto said, sticking his head out the window. Shiro said sheepishly, "Sorry, I was just so hungry, I couldn't help myself." Shiro snarled in annoyance as the blonde changed into a black shirt and prepared to put on an orange jumpsuit, claiming it was too colorful. Unhappy with the outfit, Naruto sighed and chose to wear black pants instead of the jumpsuit. After complaining, The blonde followed the tiger cub out the window of his apartment. "Where is this academy?" Naruto sighed before he leapt off the roof and landed on street level with cat-like grace, stunning the few pedestrians below. Shiro ran across the rooftop and leapt, crossing the gap between the two roofs and landing on the next roof over before stopping. As Naruto called to the cub, "Come down, Shiro. I can't roof-hop like you, you know." Naruto trotted in the direction of the tiger cub as Shiro landed a few meters away. Startled by the cat, the villagers gazed for a moment before turning away and ignoring the blonde, their faces turning to ones of disgust. If it wasn't for the villagers staring at the blonde as if he had gone crazy, they would have known by the time the two arrived at the academy that only Naruto could comprehend Shiro. As soon as Naruto stepped into the classroom, the noise from the commotion smashed over him, and he immediately covered his ears in agony. The blonde took a seat at the rear of the classroom and gradually adjusted to the commotion. "Oh my god! That's so cute! Is it yours?" A voice next to him squealed. When a blonde girl pulled Shiro into her arms and began to hug the tiger until it died, Naruto looked up and gave a numb nod. A girl with pink hair cautioned the recently identified Ino, saying, "Ino, don't do that, it's a tiger. Get away from it before it attacks you." Naruto looked at the tiger cub and said, "Don't attack her, she's not a threat. Shiro's harmless, right?" Shiro buried himself in Ino's arms, purring and nodding. As she turned to face her friend, Ino exclaimed, "Kawaii," once more, adding, "See, he's harmless." Sakura gestured to her blonde friend and said, "If you say so. Sorry, we didn't introduce ourselves. My name's Sakura and she's Ino." "Naruto," smiled the blonde. At that moment, a boy approached with a small white dog peeking out of his hooded jacket. His eyes were savage, and each cheek was adorned with two red triangles that looked like fangs. "How on earth did you manage that?" "Name's Kiba, by the way," the boy with the feral appearance said. "You reek of fox and cat." Naruto thought, "Cat? That's probably from Shiro, but why fox?" But Kiba simply shrugged. When Naruto heard the words, "Okay everyone, please sit down," his ears perked up. He turned to face the brown-haired teacher in the front of the class, who was largely being ignored. The man's booming cry, "Sit down and shut up," caught everyone's attention. Iruka produced a book and chalk and began the lesson by saying, "Okay, from now on, I'll be your teacher. My name is Amino Iruka. I'm supposed to have an assistant, but he's not here today, so for today I'll be teaching alone. We would be studying history for this period. Okay, you're all dismissed for lunch break. Please gather outside later for practical classes," Iruka said. As they filed outside, the students discussed the recently concluded class. The boy with the untamed appearance came up to Naruto and said, "Hey, you remember me, Kiba? Want to go for lunch together?" In a desperate attempt to understand why he was being so kind, Naruto tilted his head to the side and said, "But you're a dog. You said that I smell like foxes and cats, so shouldn't you hate me?" Kiba smiled, flashing his larger-than-normal canines. "I'm not a dog, I'm human. Human. My clan just works closely with dogs and we can communicate with canines, but we are not dogs. I did say that you smell of foxes and cats, but that doesn't mean that I hate you," Kiba said. Naruto hesitantly said, "You really don't mind Shiro and me? As long as that thing doesn't eat me, I don't mind much." Kiba shook his head. Naruto grinned and followed his new friend out the door, with Shiro following. Naruto gestured to the small white dog wearing Kiba's jacket and asked, "So, you're from the Inuzuka clan, what's his name?" Gazing down at the puppy, Kiba remarked, "His name is Akamaru." When Naruto attempted to touch Akamaru, the dog snarled and retreated deeper into Kiba's jacket. "Naruto, Akamaru's a dog. You might not want to touch him," warned Kiba. Naruto nodded in understanding. "Right, cats and dogs don't mix," he said. Kiba noted, "Foxes and dogs don't mix either," as they took a seat under a tree. Shiro yawned and stretched languidly before curling up next to Naruto and taking a nap. After creating a bento, Naruto ate it quickly, scattering the rice grains as he went. Kiba brushed the rice grains from his jacket and exclaimed, "Whoa, slow down." Naruto said, "Sorry," after finishing his lunch. Kiba laughed and remarked, "You're even messier than me and that's saying something." Naruto gestured to a group of girls gathered around a bench a stone's throw away and asked, "What are they screaming about?" "Screaming? Probably Sasuke. Oh Sasuke, I want to marry you, oh Sasuke. I want your spit, oh Sasuke. I want to suck your butt, tch. I don't see what's so good about him," Kiba grumbled. The tiger purred with satisfaction as Naruto scratched behind Shiro's ears and laughed at Kiba's performance. Kiba said, "Lunch is over. Let's go," after he had finished eating and then fed Akamaru. Kiba stood up, and Naruto did the same. "Come on, Shiro," Naruto said, shaking the tiger cub awake. Shiro stood up and yawned, exposing its tongue and canines once more. The students from the academy were all gathered in the yard. Okay. We'll be having light sparring to gauge your abilities in Taijutsu, then I'll correct your styles if they're not clan styles. Then, I'll be teaching you the academy's style of Taijutsu tomorrow. It's Taijutsu only, so even if you know any ninjutsu, you're not allowed to use them. Ninken, bugs and the like are not allowed either." Puzzled, Naruto asked his friend, Kiba, "What's a ninken?" Kiba responded, "It's essentially a ninja dog, like Akamaru." Naruto whispered, "Why would you use bugs in battle?" "Well, the Aburame use bugs to fight and gain information, but that's all I know," Kiba replied. Naruto summarized, "So, some clans can make use of animals and bugs to fight?" "Yeah. My clan's one of them," Kiba replied. "Looks like it's my turn." Iruka declared, "Kiba against General begin," observing that Kiba had already left Akamaru with Naruto and that the two were standing erect in the ring. Gen cocked his fist back and ran at Kiba. After giving the boy a fierce smile, Kiba grabbed the fist and punched him in the face. "Winner, Kiba," declared Iruka. With a sly smile, Kiba left the ring and headed toward Naruto, Akamaru, and Shiro. Kiba grinned and said, "Beat that, I will," boasted Naruto. Iruka turned to the class and said, "This man's name is Mizuki. He'll be my assistant from now on. He'll be overseeing your sparring," before she left after a silver-haired man approached her and whispered in his ear. Kiba gestured to the ring and said, "Looks like it's your turn." Mizuki spat out the blonde's name, resentful that the boy was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. "Sasuke against Naruto. Begin," she said. He had deliberately paired the boy with Sasuke in the hopes that the blonde would be as badly hurt as possible by the Uchiha's beating of the boy into the ground. Determined to land a blow, Naruto charged at the boy with the raven hair. He struck out with his fist, but the Uchiha sidestepped it. With a frustrated snarl, Naruto swung his other fist, but it was also sidestepped. With the intention of toppling the blonde, Sasuke abruptly fell to the ground and swept his leg in Naruto's direction. Naruto's eyes flashed a deep amber in the sunlight as he leapt upward to avoid the sweep and away from Sasuke. "How did I accomplish that?" Naruto gazed in wonder at his hands before Sasuke struck him with his fist. Before his legs were swept out from under him, the blonde shifted his head to the side and felt the fist whistle past his cheek. Naruto barely missed Sasuke's face as he flipped his legs upwards and slammed his hands onto the ground before twisting away. The momentum caused the upper half of his body to snap upright as his feet went over his head and planted into the ground. The blonde fell face first to the ground as Sasuke used the moment to lash out with his foot and catch him in the back. The blonde growled as Sasuke grinned down at him. Mizuki sadly declared, "Winner, Sasuke." Disappointed that Naruto had not suffered serious injuries. Sour at defeat, Naruto rose and walked toward his friend after giving the Uchiha a murderous glare. Kiba chuckled, "He totally pounded you without breaking a sweat," which made Naruto growl once more. "Hey, I'm only saying," Kiba said, raising his hands to appease his friend while letting out little chuckles. "How did I even do that? I mean, I've never been able to do that before," Naruto told his friend as he gazed at his hands. "Don't ask me. I wouldn't know," Kiba said with a casual shrug. Mizuki gestured to 5 target boards and said, "We're going to do target practice now. Everyone gather around the targets." Shiro and Akamaru were among the 4 people who followed the class to the brightly colored target boards. One bright red circle was prominently displayed in the center, and 4 rings were painted on it. "We will be throwing kunai today. Everyone will get a turn. The total is 5 points. You get a point when the kunai lands in the red circle. Anywhere else will not get you any points. Let's start off with Sakura," Mizuki wrote on his clipboard. The previous pink-haired girl approached the table and selected 5 kunai. After that, she approached the targets and took her place, angling the kunai before letting it fly. The outer ring was struck by the kunai. She hit 2 of the bullseyes out of 5 as she carefully launched the remaining 4, one by one. "Good. Next, Ino," shouted Mizuki. The blonde girl was able to get 3 out of 5 projectiles by stealing 5 from the table and throwing them. One more than her friend with the pink hair. "Next, Shino," Mizuki said. "Well done. This continued until Sasuke's turn came. The boy with the raven hair threw all 5 with assurance, hitting the bull's eye for each one. Sasuke retreated back into the classroom as Mizuki said, "Excellent." Next, Kiba and the girls congratulated him on his accomplishment. Kiba smirked as he strode up to the targets, letting go of all 5 and chalking up 4. Next up was Shikamaru, who hit 2 of the 5 while complaining that it was too difficult to try to get all 5. When it was finally Naruto's turn, Mizuki grudgingly allowed the blonde to attempt throwing a kunai. After unleashing the kunai, the blonde hit 3 of the 5 targets. Mizuki gave the girls instructions to the ikebana teacher, saying, "Okay. From here, the classes for the females and the males are separated. The females will be going to the fields to collect flowers for ikebana. The males will be doing the obstacle course." Following the departure of the group's female members, Mizuki guided the remaining pupils to the obstacle course, which was primarily made up of ropes and occasionally reinforced wooden pieces with metal. This is the obstacle course. You have to jump across the mud by using those stones, climb up that rope, cross the rope bridge while dodging the plastic kunai. They're not lethal, but they hurt. Then, you have to cross that rope above the mud pit and end over on that platform where you have to tie the cloth there onto the other rope and slide down. Make sure to put your feet out to avoid slamming into the tree at the end. If you fail in any of these tasks or fall off, you will end up in the mud pit below, so be careful. We will be recording the amount of time you take to complete the course. Let's start with Sasuke, Mizuki continued, before clinging to the rope like a sloth and heading towards the platform, where he knotted the cloth around the rope, grabbed both ends of the cloth, and slid down the length of the rope, lifting his feet up to stop himself as he reached the tree before letting go of the cloth and landing perfectly on the ground. Sasuke leapt from stone to stone, shimmied up the rope, pulled himself upward onto the rope bridge, and avoided the plastic kunai, emerging unscathed. Incredible. He made that look easy. Unfortunately, it's harder than it looks. Next, Shino, said Mizuki. Though not by much, the Aburame took longer than the Uchiha. After listing the names, Mizuki yelled, "Next, Kiba." A kunai nicked his cheek just before he finished the obstacle, but Kiba smiled, stepped up, and said, "I'm going to finish this in record time." Kiba jumped across the stones, pulled himself up the rope, propped himself onto the rope bridge with his arms, and ran across the rope bridge, going into a dodging frenzy. Kiba growled, "Damn it," and then snatched up the rope, swinging his legs to hold on. He made his way steadily to the platform where he fastened the cloth to the rope, grasped both ends, and slid down the rope, kicking the tree and squatting on the ground. Kiba exclaimed, "Ha," before approaching Naruto at a trot. After finishing last once more, Naruto turned to face his classmates, the majority of whom were covered in mud or had been hurt by the plastic kunai. Not wanting to take a mud bath, he looked back at the obstacle course and swallowed. Kiba teased, "Go, it's not too bad," pushing the blonde. Mizuki spit out, "Begin." Naruto stepped on a stone and felt it out. He danced effortlessly over the stones, his eyes glimmering brilliantly in the sunlight, then he grabbed the rope and clambered up it, hauling himself onto the rope bridge. The blonde was struck in the arm and thigh by the plastic kunai as he ran across the rope bridge, dodging and ducking along the way. When he got to the rope, he did something unexpected. He scrambled up onto the rope and ran toward the platform. Before throwing the cloth over the rope and grabbing the 2 free ends of it as he slid down the rope, he landed in a crouch on the wooden extension. He didn't bother to tie the cloth. His eyes flashed a thick honey color once more as he released the cloth and fell to the ground with cat-like grace, the piece of cloth trailing from his grasp. Kiba gave him a pat on the back and said, "Teach me that sometime." Mizuki frowned as he checked his stopwatch, not believing the demon brat could finish the obstacle course so fast. The class stared on in awe of the display before bursting out of it and whispering to one another. At the very least, he hoped the blonde would tumble into the mud pit. Mizuki's voice was as sweet and phony as saccharine. "I'll compile the results and post them on the board in class. Come back inside for a chakra explanation," he said. Kiba marveled, "How did you run across the rope like that?" After Naruto picked Shiro up, the 4 of them went into the academy building. "I don't know. It just felt a euro, I don't know how to describe it," Naruto said. After the lecture, the class was dismissed, and the girls avoided getting dirty by avoiding the mud. Covered boys. When the blonde arrived at his house, Kiba left with Naruto. When Shiro wandered off in the direction of the forest, Naruto asked, "Where are you going, Shiro?" "To hunt," was Shiro's simple response. Naruto declared, "I'll join you," after the cub. The sun vanished over the horizon as the 2 of them vanished into the forest. On the way to the academy, Naruto and Shiro ran into Kiba. When they entered the classroom, they discovered complete chaos. Mendoku's, a voice complained next to them. When the two turned around, they saw a brunette sprawled idly over the desk, with a rather plump boy sitting beside him, tearing through packet after packet of chips. Ignoring them, the two continued toward the front of the class, where a number of boys and a few girls were gathered, all of them gazing at the board. A brunette exclaimed, "Kya, Sasuke came out on top again. Who's the loser who ended up taking the longest time? Taking 50 minutes for that obstacle course is pathetic," a boy yelled. With Shiro in Naruto's arms, Kiba and Naruto pushed to the front of the crowd. With Kiba's name at the top of the list, Naruto teasingly said, "Look, Kiba, you're one of the top 5. Naruto resumed studying the list. "I can't seem to find my name," he said. Naruto. "Take a look at this," Kiba said, gesturing to Naruto to where the list continued on a different piece of paper. Uzumaki Naruto was the last name on the list, and Kiba indicated it. "What? But I'm sure I was fast enough to be put near the top of the list. That bastard of a teacher," said Naruto. To mock the name, Kiba deliberately dragged each syllable. "I bet he gave your timing to sar.su.k, he said. "That's not very fair to Sasuke. He got that timing with his own ability," Ino grumbled. "You weren't there. How would you know? Naruto was running on the rope. He was like a friggin' tightrope walker," Kiba responded. "Why do you care? It's not even yours," Ino said, placing her hands on her hip. Kiba retorted, "He's my friend. Why shouldn't I?" The tone Ino adopted when attempting to settle a dispute was that of a teacher. "Well, then there must have been a mistake. It's nothing to get so upset over," she said. "You're only saying that because your precious Sasuke wasn't the one whose name ended up at the bottom," Naruto replied. "Look, it's just one exercise. There's no use in making a mountain out of a molehill. It's not worth it," Ino murmured. "I guess you're right," Naruto remarked, his head's tufts of hair appearing to slightly droop. "Good," Ino said with a smile before returning to her chair. Kiba led Naruto to a desk in the center of the classroom and said, "Class is about to start. Let's go back to our seats." Iruka entered 5 minutes later, followed by Mizuki. After 4 minutes of the lesson, Naruto became bored and began to tear up small pieces of paper and ball them up to make spit wads. When Shiro noticed this, he bit the blonde's arm. Before turning to glare daggers at Shiro and massaging the offended appendage to relieve the pain, Naruto yelled and dropped a wad. Naruto muttered, "Shiro, why do you do that?" Shiro snarled, "Pay attention or I'll bite you again." "But it's so boring. You're not even the one who has to suffer through this. You just sleep," replied Naruto. "I actually do listen. Now pay attention or I'm going to bite your butt," Shiro yelled. "But it's so boring," complained Naruto. "Like Aristotle said, education is bitter, but its fruits are sweet," said Shiro. Naruto hissed, "Aristotle can bite me." Instead, he tacked on, "whoever he is," as an afterthought. After scuttling beneath the table, Shiro gaped and bit Naruto's leg. "Ow!" exclaimed Naruto. Iruka asked, "Is something wrong, Naruto?" "No, sensei," Naruto said, kicking blindly beneath the table in an attempt to make contact with Shiro's body with one of his feet. Iruka pointed to a photo of a man with long black hair, brown eyes, and tan skin and said, "Okay, then could you tell me who this is?" A headband with Konoha's insignia engraved on the metal plate was tied around his forehead, and he was dressed in red, plated armor. "Uma Yuro." Naruto attempted to stall while searching his mind for a response, but to no avail. According to Shiro, "Hashirama Senju. Shodai Hokage," he leapt onto the desk. Shiro said, "Hashirama Senju. The Shodai Hokage," and Naruto repeated it. "Good. At least you're listening," Iruka said, returning her attention to the blackboard. Shiro nodded his head toward the board and said, "See? Now pay attention." "Fine," complained Naruto. Minutes passed, then seconds, and at last the eagerly anticipated lunchtime arrived. They saw the two from earlier as they got closer to the tree. Kiba said, "Hey, can we join you?" Naruto was still too inebriated to respond. With a nod, the two boys crashed beneath the tree. As Naruto complained, "Yuga Euro numbers are spilling out of my ears." Kiba questioned incredulously, "You mean you actually listened to the lectures?" With a nod, Naruto produced a bento. To Kiba's amazement, "Whoa, no wonder you're so out of it," the fat boy said. "Why don't you just do something else?" "Shiro won't let me," Naruto complained, scowling at the tiger cub. As he unwrapped a piece of bread, the boy with the pineapple like hair asked, "Who's Shiro?" With a simple gesture toward the tiger cub, Naruto said, "Him." The fat boy thought, how can he do anything? He's a tiger. Animals can't possibly understand humans, as he munched on chips. Shiro snarled. Naruto shoveled rice into his mouth and retorted, "On the contrary, I can," he says. Whatever contrary means. The brunette bit into a piece of bread and remarked, "You can talk to it? How troublesome." Shiro snarled once more. After repeating, "I'm not an it, I'm a he says, Naruto shoved a piece of fish into his mouth. With bits of meat flying out of his mouth, Kiba exclaimed, "Whoa! You can do the same thing as me, only, with felines." With a strip of bacon clamped tightly between his teeth, Akamaru let out a muffled bark. "He's Choji, and my name is Shikamaru," Shikamaru said. Kiba smiled. "Kiba, the blondie who can do tiger," speaks Naruto. Lunch went very well. Mizuki taught the class the fundamental academy taijutsu styles during the practical lessons. Mizuki showed Naruto the incorrect stances when he attempted to teach him the style, which caused the blonde to trip over his own feet. Shiro remarked, "I don't like that silver-haired teacher of yours. Something tells me that that stance isn't right," as Naruto assumed a position as demonstrated to him by Mizuki. "Well, he's a sensei. He wouldn't do anything bad to me on purpose, right?" Naruto argued. As Kiba got closer, Shiro trailed off, "I don't know about that at Euro." "Whoa. Your stance is screwed up. Big time. Your feet are too far apart and your hands need to be like this," Kiba said, giving Naruto the best stance possible for an academy student. "Thanks," said Naruto. "See? There's something not right about that teacher of yours," Shiro murmured. Mizuki gave Naruto a set of kunai during target practice because the ones on the table had just so happened to run out. As a result, Naruto missed all but 2 of the targets by a considerable margin, and none of them even made it to the bull's eye. Kiba gave his friend a pat on the back and said, "It's okay. I'm sure you'll do awesome for the obstacle course again." "Mendoku's," moaned Shikamaru. Following target practice, the males and females separate, with the males returning to the obstacle course while the females return to the classroom to learn how to properly coordinate and arrange the flowers for ikebana. "We'll be doing the same obstacle course and see if any of you have improved in your timing. Let's start with Sasuke, seeing as he clocked the fastest timing yesterday," Mizuki said. Once again, Sasuke breezed through the obstacle course without missing a beat. Shikamaru had moved slowly because he thought it would be too difficult to record his best time. The majority of the clan heirs were fortunate enough to escape the course unscathed, but the others were not so fortunate. Due to their poor nodding technique, the majority of them became stuck midway through and, with no other option, dropped the cloth into the mud. Others had slipped on the stones, fallen from the rope bridge, or lost their hold on the rope as they made their way to the platform. This time, Kiba had survived unscathed, but he had been greatly slowed down. Disappointed with his own performance, Kiba yelled, "Damn it! Why can't I have gone faster?" Once more, Naruto went last, with Kiba focusing on his friend while amber flashed across his eyes. "Did you see that?" Shikamaru asked, turning to Kiba after beginning. Kiba replied, "Yeah. What was that? Maybe it's just the light." Mendoku's, Shikamaru drew lead, putting the incident in the file for later use. Naruto was already running across the rope by that point, his steps confident and sure, the sunlight playing brilliant gold in his eyes. Before noticing that there were no more strips of cloth available, Naruto landed on the platform. "What the heck," the blonde thought, shrugging his head before swinging onto the rope and running down it too. When he got to the tree, he staggered and fell to the ground. His body instantly straightened itself as instinct took over, causing him to fall to his knees on the floor. "I thought I was going to die," Naruto said as he stood up and checked his body for injuries. Kiba gave Naruto such a hard backslap that the blonde fell backwards into the mud, saying, "Sweet, are you secretly a cat or something?" Kiba smiled sheepishly and scratched the back of his head, saying, "Oops. Sorry," before a hand emerged from the mud and wrapped itself around his leg. Kiba yelled, "Ah," as the muddy appendage pulled him into the mud hole. "Damn you, Kiba," Naruto yelled as he scrambled ashore. Chunks of mud fell off, clinging to his hair and covering his body like a second skin. As Naruto trembled violently, globs of mud flew off and splattered all over the floor. With a growl, Kiba surfaced and climbed out of the pit to join Naruto, shaking the mud off his face. "I'm wrapping your words up in frilly ribbons and sending them back at you," he said. Kiba threw back his fist, and Naruto imitated the Inuzuka. After making up, They both punched each other simultaneously and then smiled. Mendoku's kiss and make up does not involve punching, Shikamaru drew back. I'll collate the results and pin them up next to yesterday's results so you can compare your results. Gather back inside for the continuation of the lecture on chakra, Mizuki said. After the cleaning crew had removed the mud stains, the students filed back into the classroom. Naruto left Shiro to go hunting in favor of eating at Ichiraku's after the lecture, and the two of them walked home together. He found himself at home after a substantial meal, gazing out the window. Even though 10 o'clock was approaching, he was still unable to fall asleep. His body ached to leave, but his mind was telling him that was not possible. After a while he gave in and went out the window. He marveled at the peacefulness of the village at night while he let his feet carry him and looked up at the stars. Before long, he was running through the forest, losing himself in the sensation of the wind blowing through his hair and stroking his face. Shiro was tearing into a rabbit when Naruto rushed into a clearing. Shiro asked, "Want to come along?" And Naruto nodded. After leaving the clearing, Naruto ran through the forest with Shiro by his side, following the scent of another rabbit. Shortly after finding the rabbit, Naruto's mind went blank, gold leaking into his eyes, his teeth growing longer and sharper until they resembled Shiro's as he stalked the rabbit, creeping closer without making a sound and avoiding the wind so the rabbit wouldn't smell him. The blonde's muscles tensed as he padded in the direction of the rabbit. Then, he leapt on it and easily broke it by clamping his teeth over its neck. Eva Euro. Naruto spat as his senses returned, his teeth back to normal length, the gold in his eyes vanishing. Holding the limp rabbit up to Shiro's line of sight, Naruto said, "Well, Shiro. Do you want it?" Before Shiro could respond, a blank expression returned to Naruto's face, and he began tearing viciously into the rabbit. Naruto started licking his hands to remove the blood and gore after the rabbit corpse had been reduced to bone fragments. He vomited his guts out as soon as the blonde realized what had happened, and the taste of the raw rabbit was ingrained in his memory for all time. Declaring, "That was disgusting." Naruto spat on the ground in a last-ditch effort to get the taste out of his mouth. Shiro asked, "Then why'd you eat it?" With his tongue hanging out of his mouth, Naruto turned to Shiro and asked, "How would I do?" Naruto said, "I'm going home," and he pulled his tongue back. With a shrug, Shiro went back to hunting. Kiba said to his blonde friend, "Hey Naruto, there's no school today because of the festival, wanna go together?" "No thanks," was Naruto's succinct response. Sume was concerned because Naruto had spent the day at Kiba's house. Naruto wasn't always so gloomy. He was typically so happy all the time and so vivacious that it exhausted even her. Naruto couldn't be the quiet blonde boy caressing Shiro. Then she realized. As the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki, the festival was the cause of his unease. Kiba's brother Hana comforted the blonde, saying, "Don't worry. It won't be that bad. We'll go with you." Again, Naruto shook his head. Kiba gave the blonde a back pat and said, "Come on, stop being so sullen, today's the day of the festival. You're supposed to be happy." Naruto was stunned, so Hana pulled him up the stairs and pushed him into the bathroom. "Let's go get ready," she said. Hana smirked as she said, "Bathe, or I'll never let you out," through the door. Naruto yelled, "Fine," through the door. The room was filled with the scent of shampoo and soap and the sound of water tumbling on tiles. "I'm done. Happy now?" shouted Naruto. After saying, "Very. Here, wear this." Hana pushed a yukata through the door's opening. Then Naruto yelled angrily, "Wear this? Are you mad? It looks so girly?" FYI, men can wear it too. It's not as if I'm asking you to wear a bikini. Besides, it's traditional clothes for the festival. Now stop yapping and change. Hana replied. When Hana heard the sounds of ruffling cloth, albeit with grousing, she leaned back on the doorframe and grinned with satisfaction. When the noise stopped, Hana yelled, "Okay, you can come out now." When she got no answer, she yanked the door open and dragged Naruto out of the restroom. Although Naruto struggled and screamed, the older ninja was much stronger. Her slender figure never concealed her power. At last, Hana succeeded in guiding Naruto into the living room, where Sume and Kiba were eagerly awaiting him. At last, they saw the blonde being dragged down the stairs wearing a simple light blue yukata with dark blue trim, secured by a loosely tied dark blue obi around his waist. Naruto yelled the words, "Damn it, Hana.ne. Stop pushing," at the female Inuzuka. Hana finally got Naruto to turn to face Kiba and Sume, the former fussing over the blonde, and she secured the obi properly for him so that it wouldn't fall off. "Get down from the stairs and face them first. And your obi is coming out." Hana said. Soon after, Naruto gave up and allowed Hana to examine almost every part of him. Kiba exclaimed, Naruto, you a Luca ridiculous, in between chuckles. Don't you start, Kiba. You'll be wearing one too, Hana said, glaring at her younger brother while watching Kiba go pale with a look of amusement in her eyes. No. Kiba cried in anguish, rising to his feet before his mother dragged him back. Hana said, we'll have to do something about these, indicating the 2 hair tufts that protruded from the blonde's head. When Naruto yelled in agony, Hana quickly released it after tugging on one experimentally. Hana said hesitantly, I'm sorry. Are you okay? In a blur of spoken words. Hana tried again after Naruto gave him a small nod, but the 2 tufts were flattened onto the blonde's head. Hana thought, that's strange. The 2 tufts suddenly pricked upwards once more, and Naruto turned to face Sume, who was trying to stealthily leave. Sume immediately dragged the boy back by the leg after following Naruto's line of sight. You're not going anywhere, young man, the matriarch of the Inuzuka clan said. Naruto, damn you. Naruto playfully stuck his tongue out of his mouth as though to say, oops. Sorry about that, in response to Kiba's shout at the blonde. This is intriguing. Hana muttered, these 2 things on top of your head are like ears. What are you saying? When Naruto heard what Hana had said, he inclined his head to the side. They can move on their own and behave somewhat like Shiro's ears. Hana said, or you can move them. Naruto looked at her as though she were insane, then tried to get it to move. The 2 tufts twitched before flattening on his head once more. Naruto winced as he pinched one between his thumb and forefinger, feeling the cartilage beneath his fingers compress. See, it moves, Hana remarked smugly. My god, it's true, Naruto said, gently pulling on it. However, that isn't physically feasible. Hana gazed fixedly at the extensions. It looks like you have 4 ears, but that's not possible. Naruto suddenly understood the sensation of a bug under a microscope. All right, enough about that. To Naruto's relief, Hana withdrew and pulled Kiba up the stairs, saying, it's Kiba's turn. Naruto. Please save me, Kiba shouted, but Naruto simply smirked and waved to him in a playful manner, dismissing him. The idea of attending the festival returned to him, and he fell to the ground in despair. Don't be concerned. We'll accompany you. Sume assured the blonde that there was nothing to be afraid of. Since it was the first time someone besides the elderly man had taken care of him, Naruto muttered, thank you, not knowing what to do. All right, I'm going to get ready. Stay put. Sume said, you'll get the yukata dirty, and stood up. However, it belongs to you. I mean the yukata. Naruto glanced up at Sume and said, I shouldn't be wearing it. You can borrow it from me for today. Just don't get it dirty. Sume smiled before turning and leaving the room, leaving Naruto sitting on the floor in shock. A moment later, a well-groomed Kiba wearing a yukata that was exactly like the one on Naruto descended the stairs, followed by Hana, who was wearing a dark blue kimono with pink sakura petals embroidered on it that hung off the majority of her body but snugly hugged the upper half. After Mom has finished getting dressed, we're going to leave. The festival is going to be amazing. You can purchase masks, candies, food, and other items at the various booths and games. Kiba exclaimed with excitement, and Naruto nodded, feeling a sense of excitement for the first time in a long time before feeling anxious once more. All right, are you 3 prepared? The owner was standing next to the stairs, her dark blue kimono hugging her body tightly with branches of caria embroidered onto the fabric. Her obi was a little loose, as if teasing. The 4 of them, along with their ninken and, in Naruto's case, his tiger, left the Inuzuka compound and made their way to the main district where the festival was taking place. Naruto's head turned around, trying to take in everything at once as the sights, sounds, and smells flooded his senses. Hi, Naruto. Kiba. Are you up for some grilled squid? Hana yelled, indicating a stall. The 4 went to the stall, and Naruto choked a little as smoke got into his eyes and nose. Naruto bit into the squid and tore a chunk off, tasting the teriyaki sauce slathered over the grilled sea creature. He chewed the chunk before giving up and swallowing it, the taste of the sweet teriyaki sauce still in his mouth. Here, Sume said, holding 4 sticks of grilled squid in her grasp, giving one to each of the 3 children and keeping one for herself. It's really rubbery, explained Naruto. Kiba smiled, a ring of teriyaki sauce encircling his mouth. It's like that, he said. Sume threw the bare skewer she had been eating off of into a bin and stooped to wipe the sauce off with a handkerchief. Kiba, your mouth's a mess, she tutted. Mom. This is embarrassing. Quit. Tsume's motherly hanky of doom caused Kiba to writhe, and Naruto laughed while shedding tears. "You too, Naruto," Tsume said, rounding on the blonde and gently mopping up the sauce. Naruto stood in awe, and since he was the orphan that everyone ignored, no one had ever done anything like that for him. A tear trickled down his cheek, but he quickly wiped it away after Tsume pulled away to admire her work. "Put the sticks in the trash after you're finished." Tsume reminded the two boys not to litter, and Hana devoured the last of the squid before tossing the skewer into a nearby trash can. Tsume took Naruto's and Kiba's hands and led them into the crowd, saying, "Stay close to me and don't get lost." Naruto could only nod stupidly before Tsume led the two boys around the festival, trying various foods, getting bloated, and exploring the game booths. Naruto read the words, "Catch a goldfish and bring it home," and then inquired, "Can we go try it out?" Tsume nodded and grinned down at him before guiding Kiba and Hana through the throng and toward the booth. As Tsume paid the store owner, Kiba said, "I'll go first." Kiba then took a paper scoop and dipped it in the water, hoping a fish would swim above it. However, as Kiba pulled the scoop out of the water, the net portion of it broke, letting the fish go. "Damn it!" Kiba yelled. And Tsume gave him a slap across the head for using profanity. The goldfish spilled back into the blue plastic tub as soon as Hana pulled it out of the water. "Well, I'll go next," she said, grabbing a paper scoop and trying her hand at fishing, albeit with paper scoops. The store owner's expression soured to one of distaste as he watched the blonde step out from behind Tsume to stand before the tub. Naruto stared intently at the fish in the tub, his eyes flashing a rich gold color as his hand swiped downwards into the water and produced a particularly fat goldfish. Naruto quickly lowered the scoop into the provided bucket and looked expectantly up at the man before turning to Tsume, unsure of what to do. "Give it a try, Naruto," Tsume urged, passing the boy a scoop and watching him tentatively approach the tub. "You caught one. Congratulations." Seeing Tsume glare at him, the man choked out, "I'll package it so you can bring it home." He put the goldfish in a clear plastic bag with water, added oxygen, tied it up, and gave it to the Inuzuka matriarch. "Naruto, come here." "Well done," Tsume said, passing the fish to the blonde. Naruto said, "Thank you, Tsume-san, in gratitude." "You're welcome. Now, let's go see if we can find a seat to watch the play for ourselves. You'll like it, I'm sure." Before guiding the three kids to the center of the square, where stage and seats were arranged, Tsume grinned and said, "It's about your idol, Yondaime Sama, defeating the Kyuubi." The four of them barely managed to get 4 seats together, and Naruto watched in wonder as the sun went down and the play started. A ninja, most probably a weapons specialist, had metal claws grasped in each hand, and 2 more strapped to his feet. The man opposite looked exactly like the late Yondaime Hokage, having cast a henge. The two waited for the cue to begin, launching into an intricate dance of blades, weapons clashing. Clear notes rang out across the square as the crowd watched, intrigued by the two locked in mock combat. The play was unlike anything that Naruto had ever seen. Instead of letting civilians act out the scenes and have the Yondaime defeat the Kyuubi, without the beast ever putting up a fight, the Kyuubi, in this one attacked with mock ferocity, letting loose slashes and clawed kicks while the Yondaime blocked and parried, the two occasionally letting loose jutsu, careful not to hit the spectators. It was like a real battle, albeit with the lack of injuries on both parts. Towards the end, the Yondaime destroyed the Kyuubi with a fire technique which called forth a large fire dragon. The dragon pounded into the Kyuubi, which turned upwards into the sky before bursting in a flurry of colors, having reduced the Kyuubi to nothing but smoke. The crowd cheered and applauded as the Yondaime bowed and released the henge, revealing a man with his brown hair pulled into a spiky ponytail that made his head look like a pineapple. The most noticeable feature on the man was the long scar that ran horizontally over the bridge of his nose. Soon after, the man playing the Kyuubi emerged from behind the stage and removed the mask and weapons to reveal that Kyuubi was, in fact, played by a brown-haired lady. Naruto watched in awe as the colors burst into tiny flowers of light, setting off a chain reaction as more fireworks were released, lighting up the dark backdrop. "So, did you find the show enjoyable? Well, let's get out of here and go tour the festival a bit more before they drag us into the weird karaoke thing they have going," Tsume said, rising from her seat. The question was aimed primarily at Naruto, but the three nodded enthusiastically, vying to describe their favorite part of the show first. The actors on the play's format changed every year, but the actors were always ninja, and they never failed to capture the audience's attention. When the spotlight on Kiba said, "How about that dashing brown-haired young man over there?" one of the casually dressed civilian hosts jumped off the stage and bundled Kiba onto it, indicating that they had failed to escape. Kiba said bluntly, "I can't sing," in the hopes that this would be his ticket off the stage. The host jokingly remarked, "You won't know until you try," pushing Kiba to the center of the stage and indicating the small screen in front of the two where the words, "Romeo and Cinderella," were displayed. Romeo and Cinderella. What is it? Is it not Cinderella and a Eurosome prince, and Romeo and Juliet? Flustered, Kiba asked. Sume sighed in the audience before sensing a tug on her kimono. Naruto, what is that? Sume lowered himself to the blonde's level and asked. May I use the restroom? I need to do this immediately, Naruto said. Yes. You can find the restroom by simply going behind the stage. Remember to enter the right one, Sume said, grinning with laughter as a flush crossed the blonde's cheeks. He was thinking back to the time he had unintentionally entered the girls' restroom, which was fortunately empty. The only thing that had annoyed him was the absence of urinals. Naruto scurried away, vanishing behind the stage. I can only hope that nothing happens to him, Sume thought, turning to Hana. We might as well watch your younger brother perform, but I don't think it will be particularly enjoyable. Sume sighed and gave Hana a pair of earplugs, which the younger Inuzuka accepted with gratitude. You've heard how he sings in the bath, Sume said. Romeo and Cinderella was apparently the song Kiba was supposed to sing, and he stood there, sweating profusely, staring blankly at the screen. All right, are you prepared? The host politely inquired. Kiba gave a headshake. I'll let you have a little more time. The host told him that the audience was becoming disinterested, and Kiba gave a numb nod before the host left. Pissed. I found an extra microphone, Kiba said, catching the Inuzuka's attention. Kiba turned around instantly to see Naruto holding a plug pin. If I sing for you, you won't mind, will you? With a playful smirk, Naruto said. Thank you. Are you certain you can sing, though? Naruto shoved Kiba off after he tackled the blonde. It'd be better than you singing anyway, he joked. The host returned and ushered Kiba back on stage while Naruto hid and changed the amplifier's plug to the one connected to the microphone he was holding. Quickly, music filled the air, and he started to sing, tapping his hand against his thigh in time. When Naruto began the opening, he was taken aback by the applause he received. Sume and Hana removed their earplugs and stared up at Kiba in shock, realizing that his singing had changed from crow to nightingale in a single night. The day before, he had sung in the shower, and if they hadn't worn their earplugs, his voice singing would have caused their ears to bleed. As the chorus was being sung, the audience was joining Naruto in cheering and singing, and even Sume and Hana couldn't help but tap their feet in time. As Naruto sang the lyrics, the audience continued to cheer and bop their heads in time with the song, and Sume could sense the passion and melancholy in the lyrics. Naruto had time to catch his breath before another long beep sounded. The crowd, who had also fallen in love with the singer's voice and the longing, passion, and sadness that flowed from the sung lyrics, erupted in cheers for an encore as the song came to an end. Go, Kiba, with her mother applauding next to her in disbelief, Hana yelled, whooping along with the rest of the audience, who knew Kiba could sing so well. Hana looked at her mom. Indeed, who could have known? As Kiba bowed and planted air kisses on the audience, Sume grinned and agreed. You see? You're a singer. The host said, you just had to try. Kiba left the stage by the back, where he saw Naruto quickly switch the plugs and put the microphone he had used back where it belonged, and he could still hear the audience jeering in disapproval, demanding an encore from the young Inuzuka. Uzumaki. That was fantastic. Where did you get your talent for singing like that? As they circled the back of the stage toward Sume and Hana, Kiba joined Naruto in awe. Naruto simply waved and shrugged as they got close to the two Inuzuka, who were waiting with Shiro and the Ninken. Kiba, that was amazing. Where did you get your talent for singing like that? Normally, you sound awful. Were you concealing your ability to sing all along? Naruto, you just missed the most important event of the year, Hana said as she ran up to the two. Kiba is a real singer. Hana turned to face Naruto. Naruto, why did you take so long to use the restroom? Sume inquired, worried. Another unfortunate sap was pulled onto the stage and began singing Magnet with her husband. Constipation, Naruto smiled, utterly unaware that he had just said it in public. Sume dragged the three kids away from the stage as Naruto swiped up the goldfish. Well, we should go before either of us has to go on stage again, she said. The remainder of the festival went smoothly, and Sume let them stay up until midnight to watch the fireworks. The following day was a public holiday, so they could afford to stay up late. They watched as the fireworks formed the shape of Konoha's insignia, which exploded into smaller versions before exploding into a final burst of light that made the night sky as bright as day. After a short while, the light subsided and the festival came to an end, with Sume sending Naruto home and Hana and Kiba to bed. I have never had a better birthday than this one. They arrived at Naruto's apartment, and he thanked Sume-san. I don't need your gratitude. Why don't we all celebrate your birthday by going to the festival on October 10th each year? Sume gave herself a pat on the back for having such a great idea. You went above and beyond for me today by taking me to the festival. You won't have to do it again. Today was enjoyable. Naruto said, thank you, and then he was gathered into an embrace. I am aware that, aside from the orphanage, you have lived alone since birth after losing your parents. I'd like to assist. You are my son's friend, after all. You're not worthy of solitude. Feel free to visit whenever you want. You are very welcome in our family. Damn it, Minato. Why do you have to go and die like that? I can only hope that Kushina's kicking your ass for me up in heaven. Maybe I'll join in when my time comes. Sume thought humorously as she walked back to the Inuzuka compound, her thoughts lingering on a certain blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy. Oh, and happy birthday, Sume said gently before letting Naruto go and watching as the blonde thanked her and withdrew into his apartment. One of the many statements made to Kiba as soon as he entered the classroom was, Kiba, I saw you singing the other day. I never knew you could sing. Etc. It seems that many of their classmates were present at the Kiba the Diva incident. With Ino behind the grapevine, rumors quickly spread, and before long, everyone in the school was aware that Kiba was performing live. Sing, Kiba, Ino urged, hoping to disprove the rumors and provide fresh fodder for rumors. Kiba hurriedly said, class is about to start soon. I'd better sit down and prepare, before climbing into a chair. Oh no, you don't. Class starts in 5 minutes. We have time, and since when did you ever care about class? Ino grasped Kiba's arm. Kiba began to perspire, and the other students appeared to be doing everything in their power to make him feel uneasy by chanting and insisting that he sing. After turning to face Naruto, Kiba saw the blonde smirking at his situation before burying his face in his arms. Kiba looked at Shiro in the hopes that the tiger would frighten away some of his classmates, but instead he saw the cat curled up on Naruto's shoulders, snoozing. Kiba opened his mouth hesitantly and started to sing, but the first ballad came out flawlessly. Before the next line moved through the crowd surrounding the Inuzuka, Kiba turned to face Naruto and stared. At last, Kiba realized and began lip-syncing, attracting the attention of a few inactive students who had previously avoided the crowd. Nearly every student was gathered around Kiba as the song came to an end, pleading with him to sing another. A voice boomed, everyone, sit down and shut up. Its owner was standing at the front of the class, having entered during Kiba's performance a few minutes earlier. Iruka yelled, this is a classroom, not a concert. If you want to conduct something like this, do it after school, as the kids scurried to take their seats. Iruka rambled, today we'll be learning about the Yondaime Euro. As the lesson came to an end, Naruto turned to face Kiba and used the pencil bud to tap the Inuzuka on the arm. I think this might be the makings of your own fan club, Naruto said with a quiet laugh after he had Kiba's attention. Kiba asked absently, averting his gaze from the paper airplane he was folding out of the worksheet, what? Shiro gave Naruto a disapproving glare after he laughed lightly again. See that girl over there? She's been making googly eyes at you. That girl a few seats down? She's writing you a love letter. That brown-haired girl who used to like Sasuke so much is now composing a poem about you. Very soon, they're gonna be stalking you and trying to get into your pants, Naruto said. Kiba smoothed down a fold on his paper aeroplane and asked, why? Why indeed, Naruto said with a sly smile while spinning the pencil in his fingers. Shiro hissed, Naruto, pay attention, and turned Naruto's head toward the blackboard with his paws. The Yondaime was said to be a genius. A prodigy that came only once a generation. That's all for history. Any questions before we start herbology? Iruka addressed the class. Iruka called up to a boy with brown hair and said, yes, Shin? I saw you at the festival, sensei. You were the one playing the Yondaime, weren't you? Was that brown-haired lady your girlfriend or something? Shin asked in a joking manner. That is completely unrelated to the Yondaime. I refuse to answer that question. Now, does anyone have any questions regarding today's lesson? Iruka responded. Iruka raised her hand and called up to the blonde, yes, Ino. Ino put down her hand and inquired, did the Yondaime ever get married? But Iruka shook his head and said, no, I don't think so. Why do you ask? Well, did he ever have a child before he died? Did he have any relatives in this village? Ino asked. Iruka questioned, perplexed. I don't think so, but why are you asking such questions? Ignoring Sakura's anxious squeaks and cries for her to forget about it, Ino said, well, Sakura said that the picture you put up on the blackboard looks like someone she knows. Everyone looked at the picture that was pinned to the board, absorbing the image's subject. The man in the photo was fairly tall, with blue eyes, spiky blonde hair, and fair skin. 2 jaw-length bangs hung over the blue cloth, and a forehead protector with Konoha's emblem carved into the metal was tied to his forehead. He wore a flak jacket over his standard Konoha.nin uniform. A white coat with flames licking the bottom completed the look. The students took in the man's features and then started looking around the room for anything that might resemble the blonde Hokage. A girl named Natsumi squealed, is it Sasuke? They both have spiky hair, they're both geniuses, and they're both hot. Jen angrily exclaimed, how about Ino? They're both blonde. Ino's hair is too light-colored. Besides, she's from the Yamanaka clan. Maybe it's Kisa, Hakuo yelled. Enough. I already told you that Yondaime Sama did not have a child. If he did, we'd know about it, or there'd be someone bearing the name, Namikaze, Iruka fumed. Kiba noticed that everyone was staring at him when he looked up from his paper airplanes and asked, how about Naruto? Naruto whispered to Kiba, Iruka. Sensei ended this discussion a while ago. You didn't need to contribute that. Kiba pulled the sides of his eyes to emphasize his point. Oops. Sorry, but you do look a lot like what's his face up there on the board. Just that he doesn't have those whiskers on his cheeks and you don't have squinty eyes, Kiba said. Kiba, show more respect for the Yondaime. To the rest of you, this discussion is closed. If you wish to further pursue this, do it after class, Iruka yelled. A reluctant, hi, sensei, the students murmured. Iruka drew numerous intricate diagrams on the board that showed which plants and mushrooms were safe to eat and which should be avoided. The lecture was soon over, and the students were let out for lunch. A small strawberry blonde, her cheeks flushed, approached the 4 warily and said, Kiba-kun? After pushing an envelope into Kiba's hands, the girl ran off to a small group of girls, where she fanned her face and squealed. Before they began squealing and jumping up and down in what seemed like glee, the group spoke in low voices. Kiba gazed down at the letter in his hands, wondering, who was that? There were glittering hearts all over the letter. The envelope itself was made of pink paper, and a tiny pink heart-shaped sticker held the flap shut. Naruto encouraged his friend, open it, saying, she was the girl I told you about just now. I think she likes you, Shoji gave a useful observation. Mendoku's. Just open it or we'll have to deal with a Naruto whine, and you know just how bad that is, Shikamaru sighed. Naruto turned to Kiba, who continued to gaze at the love letter as if it were the Holy Grail, and said, hey, my wine does not need to be branded. Besides, I'm not that irritating, right, Kiba? Just open it, Kiba, explained Shoji. After carefully slipping his fingers beneath the flap and removing it, Kiba took a piece of paper out of the envelope. The color was pink. Read it, Kiba, summoned Naruto once more. Dear Kiba, I've never noticed how hot you were until now. I was so moved by that song. Your voice is as pure and beautiful as a nightingale singing in twilight, and just as brave, singing when no other nightingale would dare. Your eyes sparkle like the stars above and I can't help but feel that your gaze pierces my soul. I will never leave you alone. I don't care if your dad hates me. Let's run away together where we can live happily. It's okay that you don't like bitter things. I can wait. And when the time comes, let me a euro, Kiba trailed off, before refolding the envelope and slotting put it back into the envelope. Shoji tossed some chips into his mouth and said, well, what else is in it? Kiba's voice was tremulous as he said, Naruto, you were right. I think she's trying to get into my pants. Shikamaru took a seat at the foot of their tree and said, it'll only get worse, Mendoku's. Yeah. Look, Naruto said, gesturing toward a small cluster of girls who were sprinting toward them. Kiba screamed, Shikamaru, Shoji, Naruto, save me, before taking off. Before lunch was over, the Inuzuka choked down a slab of meat. Kiba wheezed, they're going to be the death of me. Then it's lucky you're not Sasuke, Naruto teasingly said. Kiba gave a scowl. Naruto remained silent. Well, at least you won't have to deal with them now. They've gone back into the classrooms for a lesson on how to set a table, Shikamaru replied. Kiba became a little happier and even set a new personal obstacle course record. Even though they had switched to a more difficult course, Naruto had no trouble finishing the majority of it. After all, he was an expert at balance. And I was dashing across, and when I finally got to the end, I had beaten my own record. I bet I even beat yours, Naruto, Kiba exclaimed. With a sidelong glance at Naruto, Shikamaru remarked, well, we'll have no way of knowing that, since Mizuki-sensei keeps mixing your records up with someone else. With wild gestures, Naruto exclaimed, at least we'll have something to look forward to. A whole night in the forests. All we have to do is get these scraps of papers signed. I don't see what's so exciting about survival training, said Choji. Don't the words, no, and parents, mean anything to you? Par.te, Kiba shrieked. Shikamaru turned his gaze to the sky as Naruto and Kiba both deflated. Mendoku's Haruka Sensei will be supervising us to make sure we don't accidentally kill ourselves or something, so we are not par.te.ing, he said. Let's all go to Kiba's place and play truth or dare, Naruto proposed. Choji remarked, that's lame, Naruto. Naruto retorted, do you have any better ideas? Everyone fell silent. All right. Let's just follow my suggestion, Naruto stated. As the four crossed a training field, they heard a small voice hiccuping and crying, followed by the startled sounds of shouting. Shiro said, it's Sakura. A few seconds later, she is being harassed by Amy and her posse once more. When the group emerged in a clearing, they saw Sakura curled up in a tight ball, crying, with cosmic flowers all around her. Amy and her two friends were standing imperiously over the pink-haired girl, sneering and verbally attacking her. Naruto nodded, acknowledging the information. What are you doing? Kiba yelled, and Amy and her companions turned to face the four. As soon as Amy saw Naruto, a flush started to appear on her cheeks. This is none of your business, dog. Breath, sneered one of Ami's henchmen. Kiba snarled, why you a Euro, before Shikamaru intervened. Naruto yelled, just leave her alone, Amy, in an attempt to protect his crush. All right. We're leaving, girls, Amy said, snapping her fingers adamantly. With bewildered expressions on their faces, the two girls glanced at Amy before rushing after their leader. She simply departed. Like that? No, Blondie, who the hell are you to control me? Kiba slapped himself to make sure it wasn't a dream, saying, either I'm having hallucinations or she's had a screw knocked loose. After Naruto knelt beside Sakura and said, Kiba, I think we should be tending to Sakura and not pondering how the female mind works, Kiba turned around, and the four gathered around Sakura. Are you alright? Sakura could only muster a feeble nod as Naruto helped the girl with the pink hair up and asked. Where is Ino? Normally, wouldn't she be with you? Choji stuffed chips in his mouth and asked. Ino returned home. I live farther away from the academy than she does. With pink strands hanging over her face as she wiped her eyes, Sakura choked out, trying not to cry. I wanted to pick some flowers here and th. They ambushed m.me. Wh. Where's my ribbon? She gasped when she noticed that her hair was no longer being held back by the red ribbon Ino had given her. Is this it? With a long scarlet ribbon in hand, Naruto posed the question. Yes. Sakura frantically tied her hair back and grabbed the ribbon away, saying, thank you. Why did they make fun of you? Kiba inquired. As a result of my forehead. I detest it. Why must my forehead be so large and unsightly? With a few hairs falling back down on her face, Sakura yelled. It's just different, not ugly. Being large also indicates that you're very intelligent, right? The pink-haired girl gazed at the blonde with glassy eyes as Naruto smiled at her. So, what was the Nidaime famous for? Naruto asked her a question. His suit. Sakura responded right away. He had such great control over it that he could summon water from the moisture in the air. Naruto asked again, tell me what the death cap mushroom looks like. Its diameter is roughly 3 to 6 inches. It is initially convex, but as it ages, it flattens out and becomes sticky to the touch. Although it can occasionally be white or brownish, it is typically yellow to green in color. Beneath the cap are white gills that do not extend down the stem. The actual stem is less than an inch thick and measures 3 to 6 inches across. It is typically white and occasionally scaled. The remnant of the partial veil is frequently visible as a ring around the stem beneath the cap. Additionally, a white sac is always present at the stem's base. Although it will occasionally show up in grassy fields, it is typically found on the ground in wooded areas. Sakura gave the four of them astonished looks as she said, they're poisonous, so it's best that you don't eat them, because, as the name suggests, you'll die. Look, you're very intelligent. With the death thing, I only remembered the name, and that was all I could remember. Until I become Hokage, I will not die, Naruto yelled. What is the connection between mushrooms and your aspiration to become Hokage? Kiba punched the blonde's head, saying, idiot. Sakura laughed at the performance. Well, I think your forehead is attractive, so don't be depressed about it. Do you want to be walked home? Sakura gave a feeble nod in response to Naruto's question, and the five then left the training area. We're playing Truth or Dare at Kiba's. Do you want to accompany me? Choji questioned Sakura. Sakura said, let me ask my mom first, and then she vanished through the door, remaining there for a while before coming out again. The group then proceeded to Kiba's house, discussing the survival training around the corner, and Sume welcomed them with open arms before retreating to the kitchen to make a few snacks for the guests. She said yes, but I have to be home in time for dinner, Sakura said, her excitement evident in her voice. Naruto exclaimed excitedly, I call dibs on spinning the bottle first, as they ascended the stairs to Kiba's room. Not fair. Before we enter the room, you cannot call dibs, Choji remarked. I just did, a smug Naruto declared. Sakura said, dibs on second, without pausing. What? Kiba spluttered, I'd like to spin third. The fourth. It appears that you spin last, Shikamaru, Choji remarked. Mendoku's, Shikamaru responded. After they were all seated comfortably, Kiba placed a bottle on the floor, and Naruto picked it up and spun it around. The five watched carefully as the bottle eventually stopped on Sakura. All right. Truth or dare, Sakura? Naruto inquired. Truth, said Sakura. All right. Is there someone you're crushing on? And who, if any? Naruto inquired. Sasuke-kun, Sakura said, her cheeks discolored pink. It should come as no surprise, but do you believe that Sasuke enjoys being stalked and chased by a bunch of lustful girls? I can honestly say that I feel sorry for Sasuke because I was pursued by some a while back, Kiba remarked. Avoid acting as though you know him. Sakura shot back, I do everything I can to make myself attractive enough to deserve him. Don't you think that if you become a strong kunoichi, he'll like you more? People would target his family to exact revenge on him and other things if he were to go out and establish himself. If you can't defend yourself and fight, you'll just be in the way, Shikamaru remarked languidly. Sakura, crying, said, you a Euro. No, you're right. I must strengthen myself for my Sasuke-kun. Did we not play Truth or Dare? You know it's your turn to spin? Choji let Sakura know. Right, Sakura said, snatching up the bottle and spinning it until it came to a stop at Kiba. Truth or Dare, Kiba? Sakura inquired. Dare, Kiba replied assuredly. When Sakura said, I dare you to get up on the roof and sing, I've talked to your sister before and she's always said that your voice has the power to burst people's eardrums. I won't believe that you can sing as well as the others say until I hear it with my own 2 ears. Choji remarked, I thought he sang before class today. Sakura reminded them, remember? I didn't hear it. I was late today. Naruto jumped up and took the lead, saying, all right. Let's go onto the roof. The four of them took up residence on the roof as comfortably as possible. As soon as Kiba opened his mouth to sing in place of the Inuzuka, Naruto poked his head over the side of the roof. After a few minutes, the song came to an end, leaving Sakura gaping at Kiba. So you can sing, muttered Sakura. Sume was waiting with a tray of sandwiches and soda glasses when the five descended again to Kiba's room. Sume swept out of the room, saying, I'm going out for a while. The house had better be intact when I come back, so try not to burn it down. My turn to spin, Kiba said, grabbing the bottle and spinning it until the tip came to a stop on Sakura once more. Kiba questioned, Sakura, truth or dare? Dare, replied Sakura. I'm going to get you back. I dare you to go and French kiss Hana for 10 seconds, Kiba laughed. Panicked, Sakura yelled, what? But she's also a girl. I can't do that, I'm not a lesbian. Do you have something against gays? That's just not right, Sakura, he said. Naruto said, just do it. It'll be funny, with a smile. Sakura retorted, for you. You're not the one who has to go and French kiss Hana. Kiba smiled and said, come on, Sakura. Don't be such a spoilsport, or you might have to deal with a Naruto whine. Sakura yelled, what the hell is that? Shikamaru rolled his eyes and remarked, it's just the most grating, irritating, aching whine you've ever heard. And it's all stored inside Blondie here. Sakura stormed off, followed closely by a smirking Kiba. Okay, I'll do it, but I'm gonna get you back for that later, Sakura said. So much for meek and timid. Seems she's comfortable being like this around us, Naruto said with a grin. Shikamaru gave a nod of approval. When Kiba and Sakura returned a minute later, the pink-haired girl was spitting and using her hands to try to clean her tongue. My turn, Choji said, spinning the bottle until it pointed in Naruto's direction. Naruto, truth or dare? Choji questioned while cramming a handful of chips into his mouth. Naruto said, dare, without hesitation. I dare you to go to that creepy house beside the Hyuga estate at night, Choji said. Naruto questioned, creepy house? You know, the one beside the Hyuga estate. No one's gone near it in years. They say that the owner of the house still patrols the grounds at night and zaps anyone who dares try to enter, Kiba continued. Why zap people? And I thought ghosts were intangible, said Naruto. Yeah, but anyone who even tried opening the front gate ended up in the mental hospital with multiple wounds and some such, Sakura continued. And you're daring me to try entering? Are you trying to get me killed? Naruto yelled. Maybe, Choji said with a playful shrug. But it still stands. Sakura French kissed Hana, so you have to try and enter. But don't worry, we'll go with you. Naruto shot back, yeah, thanks. I feel so much better now, sarcastically. Let's sneak out at night and go together. How does that sound? Asked Kiba. I'm game, yawned Shikamaru. You four can go, but I don't want to risk being loopy for the rest of my life, Sakura replied. Kiba teasingly said, but it'll be fun, or are you too chicken to go? Alright, I'll go. But don't hug me and cry for your mommy when you get scared, Sakura replied. Kiba. I just had a random flash. That letter that girl gave you. It said that she didn't care that your dad hated her, but your father died during the Kyuubi attack. Do you know what she was talking about? Replied Naruto. Kiba gave a no shake. It's getting late. I need to go home for dinner, said Sakura. Me too, said Choji. I think, Shikamaru drew lead. I second that. We'll meet up in front of the Hyuga estate at 11 p.m. Don't be late, Kiba stated. Naruto headed straight for the Hokage Tower as they parted ways. Gigi. There's going to be a survival exercise and I really want to go. Could you please sign the consent from? Naruto begged. The Sandaime took the paper in his hands and signed it without even looking at it. Sure. Pass it to me would you? He asked. With a, here, the elderly man gave the blonde the piece of paper. Naruto exclaimed with excitement, thanks, Gigi, before scuttling away. At precisely 11 p.m., the five gathered in front of the Hyuga estate. Kiba was excited to use the few torches he had brought. Let's go, Kiba yelled, getting ready to leave. The only sources of light for the group as they strolled along the path were the streetlights and the moon and stars overhead. Before long, they came to a big mansion. It took a long time to reach the front gate, and it was even bigger than the Hyuga estate. The house appeared immaculate rather than abandoned because it had not fallen into disrepair. The mansion appeared eerie in the moonlight, as though it might come to life and devour them. After swallowing, Kiba took out a garlic necklace and wrapped it around his neck. Kiba declared, here's the holy water, the silver bullets, the garlic, the wooden stakes, the wispy tree branch thingy, and some chocolate, as he went through his bag. Kiba, we're not going to be attacked by vampires and stuff. Those are found in Transylvania. Does that house look like an old abandoned castle to you? Replied Naruto. No, but it's better to be safe than sorry, Kiba replied. Whimpering, Akamaru retreated into Kiba's jacket. Well, we have to figure out how to get in first, right? Said Choji. Woo, Sakura said, frightening Naruto and Kiba with her best ghost impression. Naruto screamed, ah, and collided with Kiba. Sakura chuckled, ha ha ha. You should have seen your faces. Kiba questioned, what did you do that for? I told you I'd get back at you too, Sakura boasted. Damn. I think I cut myself, Naruto said, raising his right hand, which was indeed covered in blood. On a wooden stake, he had cut the back of his hand. I think I've found something, Shikamaru said, pointing to a spot on the gate. It'll heal. Just come over here. What is that? It looks like those things on the exploding tags, Choji thought. Naruto touched the seal with his wounded hand and remarked, I believe it to be a blood seal. As Naruto exclaimed, oh shit. I got some blood on it, who cares? It's probably so old that the effects have worn off. And since when did you know about seals? Kiba responded. Shiro forced me to read about them and they're surprisingly interesting, said Naruto. We really don't need you to start talking technical mumbo-jumbo about a bunch of squiggles right now. Just open the gate, said Choji. Naruto clutched the handle and yelled, okay, but if I end up in the hospital, I'm blaming you. Naruto exclaimed. The door just shocked me, Shikamaru remarked, but it opened, didn't it? Naruto turned to see the gate open and asked, it did? Maybe you were right after all, Kiba, Naruto said. The five stepped inside, startled by the gate's automatic closing behind them. I'd love to come here in the day, and even now, it just seems so quiet and serene. It doesn't seem like a place where a ghost would live, said Naruto. Sakura shuddered. Really? It seems really scary to me. The door's hinges creaked ominously as they stepped inside, and they jumped before it closed. Kiba reached out to grab them and said, Hey, what's that? Those two glowing things. With one hand raised to shield his eye, Naruto screamed, Ow! Kiba! That was my eyeball you just poked. Kiba trailed off, sorry, it was glowing, so I thought. Shiro pointed up at a shaft of moonlight coming in through the windows and said, They're not glowing, they're reflecting the light of the moon. As Kiba turned on a torch, Naruto remarked, Now that you mention it, I can see everything perfectly. Why would you need a flashlight, Kiba? As Kiba stated, it's not just me, the rest of us can't see much, you know, the other three nodded. Okay. Now that we all have flashlights, we split up and go explore. Me with Shikamaru, Sakura and Naruto with Kiba, said Choji. After dividing into two groups, the five walked around the house. Naruto pushed a door open and the three went inside, asking, What's this? They were in a room with a desk, pictures on the wall, and a bed big enough for two people. Sakura pointed to a blonde man in one of the numerous pictures and said, Isn't this the Yondaime? Yeah, you're right. But who's that red-haired lady? Could she be his girlfriend? Replied Kiba. I don't think so. I think she's his wife. Take a look at this, Naruto said, pointing to a picture of the couple during their wedding in the Hokage's office. Not exactly a church, but they're married. I found the certificate, Kiba said, gesturing with a piece of paper. Well, we can safely say that this was the Yondaime's house, but Sensei said that he wasn't married. Was he lying, or did he really not know? Sakura wondered. Whatever. Let's go explore some more, Kiba said, pulling the two into a different room. A big desk was piled high with papers. There were rows of shelves behind it, all overflowing with books. Wow. Take a look at this. He's got tons of books, and there are dozens of notes on the table. His handwriting's also really neat, Kiba said. Of course. What would you expect? He's a seal master, and when you're drawing a seal, one slight mistake could cost you your life, Naruto replied. I don't think these are Yondaime-sama's. It says, Kushina, at the top. I'm guessing that was the red-haired lady's name. These are Yondaime-sama's, Sakura said as she opened a file. The papers were dotted with intricate diagrams and a variety of handwriting that was hardly readable, scribbled wherever there was room. Whoa. That's really messy. So much for being a seal master, Kiba laughed. Naruto spluttered, who cares, at least he never got his face blown off. Look at this. Sakura exclaimed with excitement. One of the bookcases shifted as she pulled a book down from the first shelf. But as soon as it moved, she was hit by a hail of kunai. In time, Naruto shoved her away and turned to face the numerous kunai buried in the ground. Before Sakura could stop him, Naruto rubbed his fingers over the spines and pulled out a few at random. Let me try, he said. Fortunately, no kunai flew out, and the remaining shelves slid out, exposing a sizable seal on the ground. It was really intricate. Now what? Inquired Kiba. Naruto made the astute suggestion, we put the books back, and leave it the hell alone. The others concurred. The books were put back on the shelves as they left the room to make room for another, and the shelves slid back into position. Shining his torchlight at a door adorned with rainbows and animal stickers, Kiba questioned, Naruto. Why does this door have your name on it? Naruto was written on a sign that hung on the door, surrounded by clowns and animals. With a shrug, Naruto said, Let's just check it out. 3 pairs of feet entered the room as they pushed the door open. It was a nursery. A small, squat bookshelf was lined with a few picture books and a baby blue cot full of stuffed animals. Sakura whispered excitedly, I bet they were expecting a baby. That must mean that the Yondaime might have had a child. Or the baby could have died during the Kyuubi attack, Kiba stated. Naruto entered the room and grabbed a photograph. It showed Kushina, the woman, and the Yondaime standing in front of the house. Kushina was pregnant, as evidenced by the size of the bulge at her abdomen. Kiba said, Let's go, there's not much to see here. Naruto muttered, No, I want to stay here for a while more. I'll catch up with you later. With a shrug, Kiba escorted Sakura from the room. Naruto walked around the room, grabbing the plush toys and squeezing them. When he put pressure on them, they squeaked, And he grinned. He took a seat and took out an album he had seen. Inside, scan results were visible as a whirling mass of black and white images. He could just make out a baby's silhouette. Shiro was right behind him as he ran towards the source of the sound after being startled out of his reverie by a sharp scream. Naruto yelled, "What happened?" as he saw Kiba unconscious on the ground with multiple minor wounds all over him. He tried to go down there and nearly made it past the landing when a seal activated and tried to turn him into a shish kebab via kunai, said Shikamaru. Luckily, Choji got him out before he could be skewered to death. You should know better than to try and get into secret basements, especially if they belong to a Hokage, and if said Hokage is a seal master, Naruto grumbled. Well, at least you're still alive. That's not the point. I bet the whole corridor is riddled with traps, like a tomb or in pyramids, Kiba said as he stood up. I think that's enough for today. It's already midnight, and we should be in bed. Let's just try not to get killed on the way out, Sakura murmured. The others concurred. They were fortunate not to have been killed, and it was enough adventure for one night. Remember, don't touch anything, Kiba emphasized clearly. Says the guy who almost went to meet the owner of this mansion, said Naruto. Kiba gave Naruto a fierce look. They survived their escape from the mansion. See you guys tomorrow. Remember to get those consent forms signed. I don't want to be stuck in a forest with sar.su.gay and company, Kiba said. When Sakura said, don't talk about Sasuke like that, she gave Kiba a headshake. Why not? He has all those fangirls and yet he doesn't have a single girlfriend. Doesn't that mean he's gay? Kiba replied. Well, you had fangirls chasing you during lunch today. What do you think? Replied Sakura. Choji remarked, she's right, you know, Kiba snarled. You were fleeing from them quite quickly. They all said goodbye and went their separate ways. Survival training. I'm sure it will be enjoyable, Naruto smiled to himself as he thought. Kiba, growing impatient by the moment, asked slowly, what the hell did you just do? Under his green canvas cocoon, Naruto blinked owlishly and chuckled uneasily. Eventually, Naruto said, well, you see a euro? Yes, a euro? Kiba asked, in a frustrated tone. I was just playing with the string because it looked so fun and got tangled and tried to untangle myself, but I fell over a peg and the whole thing just fell on top of me and Shiro and got my shirt stuck on a pole and my butt is falling asleep, so save me. His words came out in a split second. Inhaling deeply, Naruto did so. So, yeah. So you mean to tell me that you, being your usual klutzy self, managed to bring down the entire tent that I spent 30 minutes interpreting without an instruction manual and 3 hours we spent pitching in 30 frickin' seconds? Kiba yelled, his face resembling. Pretty much, Naruto winced, hoping that Kiba would be caught off guard by his rapid fire speech. Unfortunately for him, Kiba had known him too long for that to work, but his other two teammates appeared perplexed. Kiba yelled at his teammates, wiping perspiration from his brow with the hoodie sleeve, Emo King, Pokey Pokey Finger Girl, help me untangle Mega Klutz here. We have to get the tent up again thanks to the extreme stupidity of blondes called Naruto. No offense to anyone reading this who is blonde and is called Naruto. Let's just try working faster this time. We need to get it up by lunch or we'll go without food until dinner. Hey, I'm not blonde, cried Naruto angrily. I mean I'm not stupid, I can help. Kiba put on a false French accent and said, clearly, monsieur. Care to recall who collapsed the tent in the first place? Let me, or I'll whine, Naruto said, taking a deep breath again. Fine, but I will put you in a straitjacket with a muzzle on, unless you can refrain from pulling, prodding, batting, touching, etc., 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 anything that is not required, capiche? Kiba replied with his fake accent still present. Alright, mademoiselle. Just don't get your panties in a bunch. Sheesh, ever since Iruka Sensei appointed you team leader, you've been acting all uptight, like you've got a stick up your ass, or someone gave you a wedgie, Naruto said. Now could you just get me out of here so we can start pitching this thing? As the three mobile ninjas.in training started to disassemble the green canvas and the other components, Kiba let out a frustrated grunt. Thanks, Naruto sighed as he dragged Shiro with him as he crawled out of the green nest. Sasuke sneered and said, just don't get tangled again, idiot. Naruto snarled, what did you say, jackass? Sasuke grinned and said, oh, so now you're both brain dead and deaf. Good job. You. Naruto's sentence was interrupted by a head slap. Kiba jerked his head at the girl clinging to the pole, frantically attempting to raise it and join it with the others to form a E shape, and yelled, Don't just stand there bickering. Come help us. Pokey pokey finger girl looks like she's about to collapse. After finishing the formation, Hinata tried to lift the structure, but it fell on her leg. It's okay Kiba. K.kun. Can, she screamed abruptly. PPFG, exclaimed Kiba. Naruto appeared confused and momentarily forgot about the girl. Powerpuff Girl? He asked. Go help her, Naruto. Don't just stand there staring like a fool, Sasuke yelled. Oh, and why aren't you going to help her yourself if you can take the time to insult me? Kiba responded. Sasuke nodded at Naruto, who was attempting to remove the structure from the Hyuga heiress. I wasn't insulting you. I was insulting someone who had enough brain cells to actually hold a decent conversation with me, he said. And now I am insulting you. Kiba growled and poked a finger into Sasuke's chest, saying, Oh, you think you're so funny, do you? Still fumbling with the wooden poles, Naruto called out, Kiba. You were supposed to be the team leader here. Help me get this off of Hinata-chan. Kiba said, This is not over, as he walked up to Hinata, his eyes wandering to the girl and glaring holes into the Uchiha. With Hinata whimpering now and then and sobbing quietly, the three removed the structure. Naruto clung to the poles and gushed, It'll be all right. Just keep going. You're doing fantastic. Sasuke remarked, What the hell are you doing? Flirting? Save that for later, moron, as the trio brought the poles down to the floor. Can't you see? Her leg's broken? Or are you blind? Even I quote from Sasuke Almighty. Someone with not enough brain cells to hold a decent conversation can see it, Kiba said, gesturing toward Hinata's leg. Naruto sounded out, That's not helping, Kiba, before attempting to comfort Hinata and divert her attention from her leg. Sasuke sneered and dropped the poles, causing Naruto and Kiba to yank their fingers away just in time. HMPH. Now she's just going to get in the way. It's your fault for leaving that incompetent girl to do the frame of the tent, he said. Naruto remarked, Hinata, I need to look at your leg. N.No, hinted Hinata, avoiding the blonde. I promise, Naruto reassured her. I won't touch it. Hinata sniffed, her eyes welling up with tears once more. But it hurts, she said. It'll be okay. Just let me take a quick look at it and then we'll call Iruka. Sensei, Naruto said with a grin. Oh. Okay, the Hyuga heiress said, her eyes welling up with tears once more. While his two teammates hung back and watched with mild amusement, the blonde examined the wound. Naruto whispered, I think I should be able to heal it, it's not that serious. Hinata pulled away from the blonde, saying, WH. What, N.No, P please. C call Iruka. S. Sensei, instead. Kiba paced around the collapsed tent and yelled, but Sensei's not here yet, remember? He said he'd only be coming at lunch to see if we can actually take care of ourselves. We're alone here for now, what to do? Then let the idiot heal you. Look, I don't care if he'll botch it and we'll have to amputate your leg afterwards. I just want a functioning team with people on it that actually have brains and do not drop tent framework on their legs. She'll have to go home and we'll have to go home. So all of you get your asses in gear. Sasuke murmured quietly, walking toward the fly sheet and the stakes. Ignore him, Hinata. He's just a jerk. TCH. Who died and made him team leader? I certainly didn't, Kiba complained mischievously as he nudged Hinata's leg. P. Please, J. Just H. Heal I.it. IITH. Think I circa can't T. Take I.ita. Anymore. I.ith. Hurts? Exclaimed Hinata, breaking down in tears once more. The two boys looked at each other. You'd better not try. Your sensei might have taught you how to do this, but he's always been aiding you while you were practicing. It might be too much for you. What if you can't control your chakra and blow up her leg or something? Shiro cautioned the blonde, but she resisted. He focused by placing his hands a few centimeters above the girl's leg, where the skin was slightly elevated. Sweat beaded the boy's forehead, and green energy gathered around his hands. Hinata closed her eyes and gritted her teeth, bracing herself for pain, but she relaxed gradually as the pain subsided into a dull throb. Even that vanished after that. Hinata reached out to touch her leg and exclaimed, M.myl.leg. It's okay. Naruto said, don't. Wait for a while. I'm not very good at this yet, without removing his hands or his gaze from her leg. Oh. Okay, Hinata said, pulling her hand away. He ignored the burning feeling in his eyes as sweat stung them and simply blinked them away. Naruto said, there, I think that should be okay, as he withdrew and wiped the perspiration from his face while breathing heavily. With a gentle touch, the Hyuga said, Thank you, to her leg. Kiba, gripping one end of the tent, called out to them, You two done yet? We need you two to pull those two at the end and hammer them into the ground. Holding the loop in place with a stake, Hinata yelled and scampered off to seize another corner of the tent. Kiba grabbed a mallet and hammered down the stake, exclaiming, Whoa, I didn't really mean it, Naruto. You can actually heal people? Cool, so if I get hangnail I can come to you, then? In response, Naruto hammered the stake on his end and drove it deeply into the ground, saying, Don't go crying to your mother if I accidentally blow up your finger instead. I was just joking, lighten up, but seriously, you never told us you knew Iryu. Ninjutsu. Who taught you? Replied Kiba. Naruto remarked, Kabuto. Sensei helps me when he's not on a mission. Said something about helping a kindred soul, while the four secured the fly sheet by hammering in the peg. He's still a genin, but his medical skills are incredible. Kiba inquired, How did you meet him? Well, he said he saw me training so hard and that he could sympathize. He healed me and I asked him if he could teach me that. He agreed. It was just after the festival last year, and he's taught me so much, Naruto mumbled. Seems like a really great guy, said Kiba. I know, he even helps me with stuff I don't understand, and treats me to ramen sometimes, when he's back from his missions, of course. Naruto rambled enthusiastically as they hammered in the final few pegs. Kiba took 2 tents out of the bag they were given and said, Well, Sensei said that we were using other tents as a ground sheet. I thought he was joking, apparently not. Spread them out, then, said Sasuke. Kiba responded, drawing puzzled looks from his teammates, I don't have to be told what to do by a bludgeoned carrion of a flag and half. Faced Barnacle 2 farts. What? Naruto shrewdly asked, expressing their thoughts. As he ducked inside the tent to spread the ground sheet, Kiba laughed and said, I just made that up. Classic Shakespearean insult, don't you think? With the other 3 following him to the campfire, Kiba exclaimed, We're finally done. And we're in time for lunch. Let's go. Okay, students, today's the first day of your survival training. We'll be staying overnight, and you'll be going home tomorrow. I'll be looking after you and it seems none of you have managed to kill yourselves. Yet, Iruka said with a stern expression. Iruka handed out boxed lunches to the students, who ripped the lids off and gobbled up the contents greedily. I know you're all hungry, so we'll eat the food catered, but for dinner you'll be catching, killing, plucking, skinning, and cooking your own food. There's a stream running through the campsite just over there, so you'll be bathing in it and drinking water from it. If you want luxuries like a clothes rack, shoe rack, and so forth, you'll have to make your own. If you don't know how to do either of these things, don't know if something is edible, or if any of you feel unwell, just come to me. Naruto remarked, This tastes good, in between mouthfuls of rice. As Shiro ripped a rabbit in 2 and ate it, he said, When you're hungry, anything tastes good. After the snuffling sounds stopped and the disposable boxes were placed in a black trash bag, Iruka announced, We'll be playing a game called Capture the Flag. There will be different colored flags scattered around the forest. Red, blue, yellow, green, orange, purple, pink and white. 1 for each team. Each team will receive 1 of each apart from their own. One of you will guard the 7 flags while the others go around, capturing the other flags. Do whatever you have to do to get the flags, but maiming, killing or severely hurting other participants are not allowed. The first team to get 6 flags out of 7 first, wins. But how will we know who got 6 flags first? Jen replied. Well, you are allowed to sabotage other teams and steal their flags even if it's not yours, just for the sake of ensuring that they lose. All 4 members have to run back here with the flags in order to win. 1 missing member and it won't count, so you can ambush them for either their flag or their people. We will start on my red flare and end on my blue flare. Upon seeing the blue flare, you are all to assemble back here. It means someone's won. Any more questions? Iruka responded. Nobody answered. Iruka said, Good, and then indicated the locations for each team. The game began when a red flare burst into the sky, indicating that every team was in position. Okay. Naruto, you guard the flags. Me and Hinata will go attack this team here, and Sasuke will go solo and attack from the other side. We'll go in a pincer formation and we'll end up at the campsite. Lucky that we're directly opposite to the finish point, isn't it? Kiba laughed. But all 4 of us have to be there. How are we going to win with me still guarding the flags? Naruto yelled. Well, genius, unless we have some way to communicate with you, or if you can make the flags invisible. How are we supposed to do that? Kiba was grinning. Think outside the box. Now would be a good time to use those brain cells of yours, Uchiha, said Naruto. Shiro began growling and snarling as Sasuke remained silent and opened his mouth to speak. Fuinjutsu. Right, I can use seals. Then no one will be able to see them and I can join you guys. You're a genius, Shiro. Naruto embraced the tiger. Shiro felt a surge of satisfaction roll behind his throat. Revised teams. Me and Hinata, Naruto and Shiro, and Sasuke going solo. Look for the red flags and pound anyone who's taken our flags, Kiba said with a fist in his palm. W wait, K Kiba. K. Kun. W wheel A. Also H. Have T.tom. Make S. Shuro. Others W. Won't be.bea. Able T.tow.win. N. Naruto. K. Kun C. Kanji. Grab A.ane. Extra G. Green A.nb. Blue F. Flag, sh.shiro.ch. Chan C. Kanji. Grab A.ane. Extra P. Pink F. Flag, S. Sasuke. K. Kun C. Kanji. Grab A.ane. Extra Y. Yellow F. Flag A.nw. We C. T. Take A.ane. Extra O. Orange, page. Purple A.nwh. White F. Flag. TH. Then A.alt. Teams B.but O. Rs W. Would B.beo.out O. Of TH. The G. Game, Hinata gasped. The team's spirits were raised when Kiba exclaimed, "That's a great idea, Hinata. Everyone, do as Hinata just said and follow your roots. Do your best, I'm sure we'll win." As the other three departed, Naruto turned around and took a brush and an ink pot out of his backpack. Naruto said to the tiger, "Shiro, help me out here," and the tiger nodded before following him up to the 7 flags. The blonde bent over and drew the seal around the flags into the ground. It was devoid of both grass and foliage. A tiny act of kindness. The blonde moved with confident, accurate strokes. Naruto got up and activated the seal after it was finished. It didn't blow up. Unaware that he was holding a breath, Naruto let it out. Naruto yelled, "Come on, Shiro, let's go steal some flags," and fled, with Shiro right behind him. Shortly afterward, Naruto ran into Kisa, a girl with blonde hair. Every girl aspired to be the queen bee, and every boy aspired to date her because of her sky-blue eyes, sunshine blonde hair, and model. Thin hourglass figure. She was also a very talented ninja. It was understandable why some had considered her to be the secret daughter of the Yondaime. Without giving Naruto a second look, she sprinted past him. She had a serious superiority complex in spite of her talent and beauty. Her weakness was hubris. She was holding a red flag. Naruto approached Kisa and said, "Hey, Kisa. Think you could give me that flag?" Kisa simply sneered at the other blonde. "Oh, this? I just found it staked there next to my own flag, so I decided I'd take it. So, it's yours, huh? Too bad. I've taken a liking to it. You'll just have to fight me for it. Oh, I forgot. You're too weak." Naruto threw a punch that Kisa easily caught, clenching her free hand into a fist and punching the other blonde in the stomach. "Let's see about that," Naruto said. Naruto fell to his knees, gasping for air and coughing, as Kisa let go of his arm. "See? Weak," Kisa sneered, then lit the flag on fire directly in front of Naruto, who was clutching his stomach in a fetal position. Cackling with laughter, Kisa dropped the burning flag casually and took off. After checking for internal damage, Naruto slowly stood up and left the burning flag. They would lose if they didn't get all 6 of the remaining ones. The blonde thanked whatever gods were responsible for the red flag's survival after noticing 6 flags anchored into the ground next to him. When it vanished, he went over and reached for it. Naruto thought, "Genjutsu," and made a hand sign with his hands before yelling, "Kai." The flags vanished, leaving a clearing that was deserted. Naruto yelled, "Damn it," and left to find more flags. As he dashed through the trees, his stomach ached. He eventually arrived at a clearing with 4 flags. After grabbing the red one, the blonde realized that the pink and green ones were missing, so he simply grabbed the blue one and left. Along with the other red flags he was given, he raced through the forest, crashing through all of his allotted clearings and seizing them. The pink flag was the only one that wasn't present at every station. Naruto's heart sank as he finally lunged into the clearing. Kisa had already arrived with 6 pink ribbons. Her teammates have not yet arrived. We still have a chance to win, Naruto thought, turning around as Sasuke burst into the clearing from the right and Kiba dragging Hinata along on the left. Have we got all the flags? As the four huddled together, Naruto questioned. Kisa gave me one. She even set it on fire. You also lost one? So much for our chances of winning. I lost one to Amy, complained Kiba. You nincompoops are incapable of doing anything correctly, are you? Hinata, Sasuke said accusingly, this is all your fault. Hey, don't hold Hinata responsible, there was nothing wrong with her, Naruto hissed. Hinata mumbled, it's okay, and Naruto, K.Kun. Hi, Naruto, Shiro, where are you? Did he not accompany you? Kiba inquired. What are you discussing? Naruto went pale. Where is he? He's right here. Perhaps he went hunting. Kiba said, don't worry about it. That isn't feasible. Shiro never goes hunting without alerting me beforehand. With a note of panic in his voice, Naruto spoke. Perhaps he simply didn't want to take your attention away from the game. Kiba assured the frantic blonde, I'm sure he'll return. The words, maybe a euro, faded from Naruto's lips. Kiba sighed with satisfaction as he sat down on the grass and said, since we obviously won't win, why don't we just sit down and wait? If I can get that, we can win this, Naruto thought, calling for the girl as he walked out of the clearing and saw Amy approaching the boundary with a red flag. Stopping, Amy jogged over to the blonde and said, Hi, Naruto. Hello, Amy. Would you mind spending some time here with me? Naruto inquired. Amy shifted uneasily. I'm not Soraya Kisa's waiting for me, she said. Stay with me, please. Naruto pleaded, just for a little while. Amy said without hesitation, sure, and the two sat down on the forest floor to start talking. Did you really take one of Kiba's flags? Pretending to be shocked, Naruto inquired. You're correct. Easy, played like a harp, dog boy, Amy boasted. Is it visible to me? When Naruto asked, Amy handed over the red flag right away. Ignoring Ami's cries behind him, Naruto stood up and started running toward the clearing. Thanks, Amy, he said. Guys, this is the final warning sign, Naruto yelled, but the team next to them cheered in response. Simply put, it was too little, too late. With tears in her eyes, Amy rushed into the clearing and exclaimed, You traitor! How were you able to? Using my emotions as leverage. Ah, Amy, are you incapable of forgetting and forgiving? After all, it's just a game, Naruto complained. What? Amy blinked. Were we successful? After Iruka set off the blue flare, the whole class assembled at the campsite in a matter of minutes. Best wishes to the white team. Proper food will be served tonight since the four of you won't have to catch and prepare your own dinner. The team cheered and hooted as Iruka made the announcement, escaping the agonizing task of building a fire and the gory preparation and cooking of creatures like squirrels and rabbits. You guys think it's not that bad? The experience will be positive, Naruto uttered those words. Says you, Kiba complained, causing Hinata to chuckle as they got into another argument. It is currently around 4 o'clock. You are free to go make dinner. White team, feel free to assist or simply unwind. Nothing will need to be done until Mizuki delivers the bento. Just great. Okay. Hinata will go gather twigs and kindlings. Make sure they're dry. Sasuke will be making the pit. Here's the aluminium foil, toothpaste and wire mesh. I'll go collect the water and Naruto will be gathering food, got it? Instructed Kiba. All three gave a nod. Then get going. Vamoose, skedaddle. Hinata and Naruto scampered off into the forest, while Kiba headed for the stream with the pot and Sasuke went to their sensei for the hoe. Hinata held up a tiny, thin strand and said, N. Naruto. K.Kun. I.isth. This A.K. Kindling. Naruto dashed into the woods and exclaimed, Yeah. We need to find a lot of that to keep the fire going. Oh, there's a rabbit. Catch you later at the campsite. With a dejected sigh, Hinata went on gathering kindlings, gathering them in bundles, and throwing them into a big garbage bag. Naruto pursued a plump brown rabbit in the meantime. In a pitiful attempt to move, it repeatedly flopped onto the ground. It simply had too much fat. With a sense of satisfaction, Naruto leapt on it and bit its neck, feeling it give way beneath his teeth. Now limp, he picked up the dead rabbit and put it in a duffel bag. When the world tilted, he ran toward another animal he had scented. Huh? Shaking his head to clear his vision, Naruto pondered. The world regained its sharpness and clarity. He was forced to his knees by the burning pain in his back. After gasping in agony, the blonde remained and waited for the pain to subside. He made the decision to stand up when the pain continued, but his legs were shaking too much to bear his weight. The boy's voice refused to work as the seconds passed, panic tightening him. After that, he fell into benevolent unconsciousness. He opened his eyes to the last of the sun's orange light. He sat up, winced, and carefully examined it, letting out a sigh of relief when he found nothing amiss. I must have dozed off. Well, strange dream. Oh, right now, all I have is one fat, foolish rabbit. If Sasuke doesn't kill me first, Kiba will, Naruto thought as he stumbled to his feet and followed a savage boar to a less shaded area. When he discovered the boar, sniffing through some bushes, the forest floor was glowing golden. The boar was dead at his feet, his body covered in scratches, when he returned to the world of the living after his vision went blank. How did? No time to ask questions. This is something I should bring back. It's enormous. All four of us could eat from it and still have some left over. Naruto picked edible mushrooms, nuts, berries, and plants as he made his way back to the campsite while pulling the boar by its leg. Upon his return, his teammates gazed at the enormous boar, their stomachs rumbling and their mouths watering. Kiba cried out, "How did you get that? And it's still warm." "It died of old age. I just happened to come across it while it took its last breath," said Naruto. "Then how did you get all those scratches?" "Had a scuffle with a rabbit." "As expected of the Idiotus Moronicus. You can even manage to get yourself killed by the Easter Bunny," Sasuke grumbled. Naruto pulled the plump rabbit out of his duffel bag and yelled, "Hey, it was a very vicious rabbit, okay?" Sasuke said, "Yeah, very menacing," and rolled his eyes. "P. Please, D. Don't F. Fight. W were all H. Hungry and I. It's G. Getting T.TOU.US, Hinata murmured. "She's right. Let's eat first," Kiba commented. "Sasuke, you apply toothpaste to the bottom and sides of the pot, then go and help Naruto. Hinata, you set up the kindlings and twigs and light them. Sensei said that we could use matches. They're next to the aluminium foil. Sustain the fire while we boil the mushrooms. Naruto, skin the boar and remove the innards." Naruto questioned, "What do we do with the innards?" To which Kiba replied, "Just dump them in the forest." Naruto scowled and said, "But isn't that a waste?" "Just do it," Kiba uttered in frustration. "Now go do your things. I'll be collecting some sand." Naruto repeated, "But what about the innards?" Kiba's voice grew quieter with each syllable. "I don't care about the bloody innards. I'm really stressed here, please don't make it worse for me," she said. After dragging the boar away and saying, "Sorry," Naruto pulled out a kunai before passing out. Running toward him, Kiba slapped the blonde awake. "What happened? You just a euro fell." "A euro I don't know," Naruto said with a small frown. "Well, you'd better not start fainting all over the place like an asthmatic in a whalebone corset or I'm going straight to Iruka." "Sensei," Kiba said with a stern voice. Naruto rolled his eyes and said, "Yes, mother," before beginning to skin the boar. Time seemed to pass too quickly, and the sun was rapidly fading. Kiba yelled at the blonde, "Why does this thing keep going out?" Naruto, "Blow. The embers won't die so fast." Despite being covered in ash, their fire didn't seem to want to burn. Finally, a tiny flame danced on the kindlings as the blonde blew on it. Kiba exclaimed, "Add twigs, hurry, before it dies again," into the air. Before the fire extinguished once more, Hinata carefully pushed in a few twigs. "Damn it." Naruto blew once more and drew back rapidly as flames shot upward, almost severing his eyebrows. With the wire mesh and spit over the fire, Kiba exclaimed, "Finally," and plopped the pot with the boar on the spit and the rabbit inside down onto the wire mesh. "You four doing all right?" Iruka asked as she emerged into the clearing at that moment. The four nodded, and a round of "yes" was raised. With surprise in his voice, Iruka remarked, "Good. Is that a boar? You actually managed to catch and kill a wild boar?" All four gave a nod. "Well, enjoy your meal. When you're done, the girls go and bathe while the boys put out the fire and wrap it in the aluminium foil used to line the pit. Then, seal it into the scroll I gave your leaders just now, but be careful, it's hot. After that, the boys will go and bathe while the girls refill the pit. We'll gather at the main campsite after everyone's done and have a campfire, where you can tell ghost stories, have a sing along and all that." Iruka departed. While the food cooked, the four of them sat around the fire. Naruto sighed, "Shiro's still not back," saying, "Maybe he fell asleep somewhere. He'll come back. Stop worrying. Look, the food's ready," said Kiba. Naruto became happier when food was mentioned. With their stomachs full, the four choked down the food. What are we going to do with the rest of the boar? There's still a lot left, Naruto said. We see. Conshish. Share I.itw. With th.the.r. Rest o. Of th. The circa class f. For a. An. Night s. Snack, Hinata said. Yeah, we can do that, expressed Kiba. Hinata excused herself, saying, Excuse m.me. IIH. Have t.tog. Go b. Bathe n. Now, and quickly left. As he picked up the bottle of sand, Sasuke said, Let's wrap this up. Idiotus Moronicus. No offense to anyone whose name is Idiotus or Moronicus. You grab the trash bags. Brain dead, you get the scroll sensei gave you. Before grabbing their respective objects and complaining to one another, the two insultees glared at their insulter. After sprinkling the sand on top of the embers, Sasuke covered the pile with the aluminum lining and placed it on the garbage bag. In a hurry, Naruto wrapped it up, and Kiba sealed the bundle inside the scroll. Did you see that? The plastic was melting? How cool is that? Replied Naruto. If it had burst and hit you, you would be cursing its very existence, said Kiba. Before heading to the pit, Hinata told the three boys, It's why. Your tea. Turn t.tob. Bathe, as she emerged into the clearing. On their way to the stream, the three quickly picked up a bar of soap, a towel, and a new change of clothes. Several boys were already in the stream, attempting to tip each other over head first. After removing their garments, the trio stepped into the stream. It was clear and warm water. Kiba poked Naruto's back and asked, What's that? Craning his neck to see what had captured his best friend's interest, the blonde asked, What's what? Cool. You have a tattoo on your back. Where'd you get it? Kiba yelled. Naruto said, I can't see, catching a glimpse of a black line that ran close to his shoulder blade. Kiba yelled, almost pushing Naruto into the stream, It goes all the way down to your leg. And you've got one on your neck, too? Sweet. A hand was raised to his neck by the blonde. Hurry up. We've only got a few more minutes left. I expect you all out of the water in 2 minutes. Iruka yelled. The two boys quickly washed themselves in an attempt to extract as much as possible from the bath. When they returned, they found Hinata sitting on the floor, gazing at a big lump. Hinata appeared on the verge of tears as she said, I'm S. Sorry. TH. The piece J. Just W. Wouldn't F. Fit. According to Kiba, it's okay. It's meant to be that way anyway. The Hyuga were relieved. Really? Hinted Hinata. Sasuke gave a snort. Before guiding them to the main campsite, Kiba nodded and assisted Hinata in standing up. Around a roaring campfire, they sat. It was cool. There were stars in the sky. They had marshmallows roasting, and having a midnight snack of boar. It was flawless. Through marshmallow fights, ghost stories, and campfire songs, the students grew closer. A few marshmallows were even thrown into the campfire by a joker, causing the fluffy treat to turn black and the insides to swell and bubble out in a mass of brown and white goo. While the boys began yelling and flinging anything they could find that could catch fire into the fire, the majority of the girls could be heard saying, Ew. Iruka checked the security of their tents while they were playing Capture the Flag, and eventually they were all sent to their tents to sleep. They all met the requirements. In case something went wrong, the teacher then withdrew to his own tent and fell into a light sleep that was in between waking and slumber. Kiba had fallen asleep as soon as his head hit the pillow, but the two had planned to stay up and talk until the wee hours of the morning. Hoping it was Shiro, Naruto stared at the tent's walls and jumped at the slightest sound. When midnight finally arrived, Naruto woke up. With his feet making no susurrus in the ground sheet, he threw on a shirt and left the tent as quietly as possible. Putting on his Zori, he dashed into the forest to find Shiro, going to where he had last seen the tiger. The night was calm as he ran farther into the forest. As he ran through the silver-lined trees, the wind whistled in his ears. Every sound, smell, and sight became clear as the forest floor was covered in dancing shadows. After racing through every clearing and eventually giving up and turning to return, he discovered he was lost. Naruto muttered, if I keep going right, I might be able to get out, and started to head to the right, only to find himself increasing his distance from the campsite. He saw a flash of white and rushed into a tiny clearing. A tiny white figure was shivering on a dais that was positioned directly in the middle. Naruto walked up to the figure and asked, Shiro? Yes. Shiro was shackled to the dais. Naruto muttered, Shiro. How did you get here? Shiro remained silent. Then Naruto saw that his eyes were shut. With Shiro in his arms, he was launched into the air after yanking Shiro off the dais. They were getting closer when a shadow swung out. The trees were a blur as Naruto stumbled to his feet and fled. He was acutely aware of the presence, which was drawing nearer every second. Kiba woke in the tent. Then he woke Sasuke and Hinata by shaking them. "Where's Naruto?" "Who cares? The idiot probably just went out for a pee, that's all," Sasuke thought. His S. Sleeping B. Bags C. Cold. HEH. Hasn't B. Been I.ini.itf. For A.atl. Least A.anh. Hour. Hinata uttered while placing her hand on the collapsed sleeping bag. WH. Where A.y.ug. Going. Kiba said, to alert Sensei, as she left the tent. In the next clearing over, Sasuke and Hinata rose and followed their team leader to their sensei's tent. Branches slapped Naruto's face as he ran through the forest, laughing and whirling in the wind. The shadow smirked and slashed at Naruto as he staggered through the bushes, saying, "Run, little piggy, run." Naruto realized the shadow was playing tricks on him. "Boo!" A figure said as steel sank into his flesh, leaving a solid red line across his chest. Naruto flinched. He moved away from the man as the shadows danced across the forest floor and the trees now appeared twisted and dangerous. He could have been attacked by any of them. As he crashed into a clearing, the knife slashed his sleeve and ran across his skin once more. He saw a tent and let out a mental sigh of relief. I hope it belonged to Iruka Sensei. The tent was empty when he staggered inside. He went into another panic. He was aware that the shadow was trying to kill him. He had been nearly stabbed several times by the man. The shadow's dagger, which was dangerously close to his heart, left gashes all over his body. When the blonde fled the tent, the shadow met him head-on. Naruto tried to sound confident, but his voice came out as a squeak. "WH. What do you want?" he asked. A childish voice squealed. "The sacrifice wants to know. The sacrifice wants to know. Oh, the sacrifice is fun. Slowly speaking, Naruto attempted to reason. "Sacrifice no want be sacrifice. You understand?" The shadow licked the blade and wiped up every last drop, saying, "Sacrifice is funny. Sacrifice's blood tastes so good. Karasu wants more." On the blade. Sucking his fingers and relishing every last drop of the scarlet liquid, Karasu appeared to be torn. "But Karasu's master says needs boy," he said. In an attempt to buy time by keeping Karasu talking, Naruto cautiously backed to the corner of the tent and asked, "Why does he need me?" "Sacrifice doesn't know what he is. Doesn't know his value." "Very well. Karasu tell. Sacrifice die later anyway." Karasu darkly chuckled. "Master wants your blood. Wants your animalized too. Legend says that if you drink from both the hominum and the animales on the night when anima blood runs high, the drinker becomes immortal. Master wants immortality. Wants knowledge too. Wants every jutsu this world has to offer." Karasu was overjoyed. Naruto arched an eyebrow and slowly reached for a steel peg, asking, "Like Faust?" Karasu obviously enjoys talking. He was certain that Naruto would perish. With his face inches from the blondes, Karasu leapt forward. The decay and rot were odorous to him. Death on the breath of the man. "Yes, like Faust. Only, if you have the right anima pair, will there be no repercussions, little boy? If he drank from me and Kuro, he would live every day of his life, languishing in nightmares and spending every waking hour in unimaginable pain. Physical and mental. Oh, no, when he heard his competitor was going to have baby, he wait. Competitor and wife, both anima. Now, child, anima. But child's anima must be special." Yes. Karasu rasped at Naruto's neck, missing just a few millimeters. Like a kitten licking up milk, he sucked it down. Karasu laughed and turned away from Naruto to face the moon, which was hidden by the clouds. The moment moon comes out, sacrifice must be killed. No sooner, no later. A serious error. You can't help but stare at the most erratic ninja on Konoha. Ninja.in. Training, if you will. In order to prevent the tent from collapsing, the boy stepped on the rope, knelt down, and carefully pulled the peg out of the ground. The weight of the tent pulled from beneath Naruto's foot, causing the rope to slacken before snapping back taut. The clouds moved away from the moon as a breeze blew by. Hold on to it. 3, 2, 1. A 3 kilogram solid steel peg was sent straight through Karasu's heart when he snapped his body back. As he pushed his entire body weight behind the peg and drove it as deep as he could, Naruto felt bones snap beneath it. A burst of red that appeared black in the darkness erupted from his body as the peg drove through his heart and out the back, shattering his sinew. Karasu passed away immediately. Breathing heavily as the adrenaline wore off, Naruto leaned into the corpse of the deceased man. He saw the light go out of the man's eyes as he looked up. He was struck like a wrecking ball by the enormity of what he had just done. With a dead thud, the man's body hit the floor, and he dropped the peg and stared blankly. At last, the full splendor of the moon emerged, illuminating the clearing. Naruto gazed at his hands, which were stained with blood from another person. They were cold and slippery, gleaming scarlet in the silvery light. He had a strange feeling of detachment in spite of everything. He pursued and dispatched smaller creatures. Although he had been the prey, he had flipped around and overpowered his predator, as crazy as the Easter Bunny. In the clearing, Naruto took a seat. Hours passed, and everything was peaceful once more, until Iruka and his 3 teammates suddenly appeared in the clearing. Naruto. Where a Euro? Iruka went silent upon seeing the corpse. After suppressing a gasp, Hinata passed out. As Sasuke turned away, Kiba fled into the bushes to throw up. Iruka rushed to Naruto, pushed him away from the body, and then embraced him. It's okay. I understand that was your first kill. At such a young age too. Just let it all out. At his teacher, Naruto simply blinked and asked, "What do you mean, sensei?" "I know you're traumatized, so just cry if you have to. I'll be here for you." "What for? I know your first kill can be very traumatic. Just take your time to get used to it. It's okay to be scared." Naruto gave his sensei a spooky smile and said, "You mean him? It was kill or be killed. I chose kill. It was survival of the fittest." "Naruto, you're scaring me." With trembling arms still resting on the boy's shoulders, Iruka withdrew. With a ghost of innocence on his lips, the blonde simply smiled before disappearing completely. A dark figure darted liquidly away into the shadowy forest as the trees rustled and the wind howled through the clearing. "You're sure you're okay?" Iruka asked, taking a deep, trembling breath. Naruto nodded adamantly, his icy blue eyes framed by a circlet of gold. 2 days had passed since then, and school was about to end. Naruto had successfully trapped even the teachers during their first trap setting lesson, and he wouldn't let them go until Iruka found them and assisted them in escaping the seal reinforced traps. As if nothing had happened, Iruka glanced worriedly at the blonde, who was lying on the desk talking to his small group of Shikamaru, Choji, Kiba, Sakura, Ino, and Hinata. The 5 of them had an unwritten agreement to never discuss it. Naruto had told him the truth about what the man had said after Iruka had gently questioned him about it. After disposing of the body, he approached the Sandaime and inquired about Anima. The elderly man had dismissed any knowledge of it with a shrug. He was telling the truth. Iruka's statement, "We'll be having our annual open house in a week's time," caught the attention of his students. For the majority of them, open house was the eagerly anticipated day. They were able to enjoy themselves and show off on that particular day. "We'll have auditions for a singing competition and a dance competition in 2 days' time. The finals will be on open house day, to entertain the parents. There will be prizes for winning these competitions. Also, there is a triple station competition. Participants have to be in teams of 6 to 7. These teams will have to work together to get through the obstacle course component we'll have set out. It'll be harder than the ones you've been doing up until now, so it's impossible for you to do it solo. There will also be other competitions, so please sign up if you're interested." This caused the pupils to whisper. "Hey, Hinata. You should really join that dance competition," Kiba exclaimed with a smile. It was Hinata who stammered, I see. Oh, come on. Have more confidence in yourself. Hinata. You can dance beautifully. No one can compare to you," Naruto laughed. Hinata turned scarlet. "Why? You are really think S.So?" she asked. "I know so," exclaimed Naruto. Shikamaru tipped his head in their direction and said, "Hey, wanna join the triple station competition together? We have enough people." Nodoka appeared out of nowhere and said, "Kiba, you should totally join the singing competition." In addition to being one of Kiba's most devoted followers, the girl with the brown hair was the one who gave him his first love letter. Kiba let out a frustrated sound. Kurumi appeared beside Nodoka and they gave each other high fives. "I know, right?" Kurumi said. When the rest of Kiba's fan club showed up, they began to breathlessly babble and beg the poor boy to join them. Choji stuffed chips in his mouth and thought, "I really feel sorry for Kiba, but it's his fault for having such a good singing voice." Kiba's fanbase scattered, leaving an untidy, looking Inuzuka in their wake. Then he fell to the table. The boy sighed, "I'm joining the singing competition," and then he turned to face Naruto, his eyes beseeching. Sakura and Ino yelled together, "I'm joining too. We can go to the audition together. Let's go put our names in now," and then pulled the Inuzuka away. To save the Inuzuka, Naruto shrugged and trotted after the three. To turn in their names, they marched down the hallways to the general office. Kiba chewed the butt of his pencil and wondered, what song should I sing? Sakura and Ino had already gone to join the gang outside the school after turning in their forms. Naruto joked, "How about a song to mark your stupidity?" Kiba wrote down the name and threw the form into the box, saying, "Nice idea. How about Triple Baka?" Naruto hissed at his friend, "I was just kidding. And don't you need 3 people? Isn't that why it's called Triple Baka?" "But it's a nice song, and who cares about the triple anyway? The other 2 don't do anything much," Kiba said. Naruto tapped his foot impatiently and asked, "And who do you think is going to sing?" Kiba said, "Me, of course. I'll just burst their eardrums, get disqualified, and go on my merry way," in a hesitant tone. Naruto let out a sigh. Naruto negotiated, saying, "I'll help you this time, but we'll split the prize." "Deal," Kiba and Naruto said, raising their hands and firmly clasping them together. Naruto was discovered huddled in a dusty air vent 2 days later. Every time he moved, gray particles rose in choking clouds. Kiba eventually made it into the audition room after an excruciating hour. Finally, Naruto muttered to himself. A black-haired academy teacher said, "Tell me your name, age, and song you're going to sing," in a monotone that made the blonde's mind race. Even an elderly man could be put to sleep by this man. "Inuzuka Kiba, 9 years old. I'll be singing a Euro Yuha Euro Triple Baka," Kiba stammered, looking around the empty room in despair. "Well, sing," the man said, resting his chin on the formation while putting his elbows on the desk and tying his fingers together. He gave Kiba a menacing look that made the dog and boy start to perspire. "No me de oheo ki ga sukeba monada shiranai ida ni arawara nemike. Isogashi no ni yoseru amanagara katoba ni sasaware. Jitsu ni baka da na kimi wa." From the air vent, Naruto sang, "Honki de Surarita." Now that she was sitting up straight, the teacher listened to the song with great attention. When the song was over, the academy teacher's face was as radiant as the sun, a grin slapped on with a hint of daze. "The results will be pinned in the foyer, so go check it out." "Bye," the man said with a cheerful wave. Startled by the abrupt change in the man's demeanor, Kiba hurried out of the room. With a little cough, Naruto backed out of the air vent slowly. In case he was discovered, he pressed his body against the vent's floor and listened for any indications of the teacher. "Baka, baka, baka, nani ga koko made anata o ugokasu no," was all he heard. The blonde let out a little sigh of relief and slithered out, as quiet as the night. The results weren't displayed on the board for another 2 days. Nodoka saw the list and squealed uncontrollably. The phrase, "Kiba.kun. You're so awesome. You got in," kept coming out of the Inuzuka's ear. Sakura's heart jumped with excitement when she saw her name on the list. I got in, she exclaimed. Ino remarked, "I got in too, you know." Naruto beckoned the Hyuga to the board and exclaimed, "Hinata. Chan. You made it into the finals for dance, way to go." She passed out. The school was a hive of activity on the day of the open house. Parents came pouring in. To their embarrassment, the parents gave their kids sloppy kisses as they congratulated them on their throwing skills. Iruka told his class, "Okay, everyone pick a partner. You'll be sparring." Naruto teamed up with Hinata, the Hyuga heiress who was glaring at her father, who was looking at her with a stony face. Naruto smiled and said, "Don't worry, Hinata, just hit me." Just as Iruka signaled to begin, Hinata gaped at the blonde in horror. Hinata assumed her hesitant and rigid Juken stance. After settling into a new position, Naruto's eyes narrowed into ominous slits as the warmth in them vanished, leaving only the hawk's icy gaze. Hinata winced and then held her body even more rigidly. The blonde lunged forward, aiming for the Hyuga. With a gasp, Hinata ducked, causing her reflex to lash out and strike his arm. She squeaked, "I'm sorry," as she watched her friend flinch. The blonde whispered into her ear, "Stay focused, and loosen up your body," while he punched back. Hinata gazed incredulously at the fist that had narrowly avoided her face. "Naruto," she said in a whisper. He appeared to be a completely different person from the blonde who had made her laugh by strumming up the teachers and healing her leg. She dodged after being startled out of her reverie by a kick. A fire of determination ignited inside her as she looked into the blonde's now white, rimmed eyes, and for the first time, she fought back with all of her strength. She struck the blonde's arm once more, rendering it immobile. "Good," said Naruto. Hinata's eyes widened before she launched a fast, moving attack, precisely jabbing at the blonde's chakra points. Her attacks flowed like water in a stream as she fought her own way. After avoiding the blows, the blonde was hit hard in the leg. He was blown away. Gazing at her crush, Hinata gasped for air. Rolling onto his back, Naruto smiled at the Hyuga. The boy's words, "You were amazing, Hinata. I didn't know you could fight like that," caused a tiny smile to appear on Hinata's lips. She glanced at her father, who acknowledged her with a small nod. It was the happiest day of her life, she concluded. The two went to join Kiba after she helped the blonde stand up. Kiba yelled, "You go, girl, now all we have left is the dance competition for you, the singing competition for me, Sakura and Ino, and the station for all of us." From the stage, Ino rushed in their direction. "What are you two doing here? The singing competition started ages ago. My turn just passed, and after Sakura's Kiba, the dancers also have to go backstage now," Ino yelled at the improvised podium. Without delay, the four raced to the platform. When they arrived, Sakura was already performing the last ballad of Voice on stage. Sakura was greeted with thunderous applause as soon as she stopped. She stuck her tongue out at Ino while trouncing backstage. Over the microphone, the same man from the audition said absently, "Next is Inuzuka Kiba," his stunned smile still firmly fixed on his face. With shaking fingers, Kiba grabbed the microphone from the man and held it to his lips. The microphone was wireless. After removing a comparable one from a bench, Naruto began to sing. After changing into a scarlet dress, Hinata walked to the back of the stage and saw Naruto singing, "Baka baka baka hoka ni yaru koto matamata uru en ya nai." She remained enthralled until the song ended. There was a brief silence, followed by a roar loud enough to knock down the roof. Uncertain of what to do, Hinata scampered away and turned robotically. "While the judges decide the winner, we'll be having the finals for dancing. First up, Hyuga Hinata," said the man. With her body as rigid as a block of ice, Hinata stepped into the center of the stage. "You can do it, Hinata," was the sound that ended the silence. A familiar blonde and his tiger caught her attention as she turned her head to the side. When the music started, she positioned herself as loosely as possible in front of the audience, which only made her more rigid. "Go, Hinata," she exclaimed as she turned to face the crowd, who were cheering and yelling with the rest of the group. She turned her attention to them and started dancing, her body moving in unison. Every step she took was like a fire, and she could feel the beat pulsing through her body, directing her every step. A calm, flowing blaze of passion flickering against a black background. She twirled in midair, her dress flaring out around her like a full flowered rose, and finally she launched herself into the air, a single drop of blood in the depths. With all the elegance of a swan, she landed. She was panting as the music ended, but she was happy with how she performed. Before erupting into an applause that could have rivaled Naruto's, the audience gaped at her. The applause followed her all the way to the changing room as she scampered off the stage. By the time she struggled out of the dress, the competition was over because there weren't as many dancers as there were singers. With enthusiasm in his voice, the black-haired academy teacher declared, "We'll announce the winners for the singing competition while the judges decide the winner of the dance competition." The spectators held their breath, silently supporting the performers they liked best, even though they had nothing to do with the competition other than the competitors' parents. To create tension, the instructor trailed off, in third place Isayuro. The crowd erupted in a drumroll. "Tsubasa Gen," he exclaimed. As General was swept onto the stage, the audience applauded. When the applause subsided, the man said, "In second place is..." "Oh, it seems we have two," the man said, looking amusedly at the cue card he was holding. "Yamanaka Ino and Haruno Sakura." Sakura and Ino stomped on stage, their venomous gazes shooting sparks as though they were attempting to electrocute one another. "In first place Isayuro," the academy teacher said, appearing to be about to blow up. Again, a drum roll drifted through the crowd. "Idiot!" exclaimed the man. Concerned about the "idiot" outburst, the crowd exchanged bewildered looks. The man received blank looks when he said, "He sang triple baka. Baka means idiot, get it?" The man then declared, "Inuzuka Kiba is in first place," not realizing that his joke had not gone over well. Kiba staggered onto the stage after being pushed violently. After being given a scroll each, they were led off the stage. The gang pressed eagerly, "What did you get? What did you get?" When Kiba tore the scroll open, arrays were written on it. Kiba turned the scroll upside down and asked, "What is this?" "It's a scroll on sealing," exclaimed Naruto, snatching the scroll from his companion's grasp. Kiba remarked, "What's so interesting about a bunch of squiggles? They look like someone's bad handwriting." As the blonde became ecstatic, Naruto punched the Inuzuka. "Oh. That's rubbish. I made those flags of ours vanish into thin air a week ago using seals. They're awesome and you know it." "Whatever. You can have it. It looks boring," Kiba said, refusing to listen to the blonde's declaration. With a toothy smile, Naruto said, "Thanks, Kiba." Iruka took over and said, "Now for the winners of the dance competition," he stated. In third place is Yuki Kisa. Without resorting to showmanship, Kisa complained about not winning in front of the group. Gloomily, she walked onto the stage. Kurumi triumphantly strutted onto the stage, winking at Kiba as she went, and declared, "In second place is Rezu Kurumi. In first place is Hyuga Hinata." Hinata revealed a shocked expression. Unable to understand what she had heard, she stood. As Ino shoved her toward the stage, he exclaimed, "Go, Hinata. You won." As though in a trance, Hinata approached the stage slowly while watching blindly as she was also given a scroll. Still out of it, she drifted down from the stage until Sakura and Ino squealed and embraced her in a group hug. Open it up, and, "You won. You won first place," came from the small group. With unsteady hands, Hinata opened the scroll, revealing a stack of paper that fluttered to the ground like snow. White birds. The pieces of paper were collected by the 7 friends. Kiba held one up to the sun and asked, "What are these?" There was nothing magical. Sakura stated, "They're chakra papers." Shoji inquired, "How do you know?" Sakura said, "I read the scroll," as she held it out to them. "Just channel chakra into the paper to find out your elemental affinity," Sakura said. Naruto exclaimed, "Cool, I wanna try. Can we, Hinata?" Hinata gave a nod. "Thanks, Hinata," Kiba exclaimed as he channeled chakra into one of the thick stacks in Hinata's hands. The paper fell to the ground. Kiba inquired, "What's that mean?" "Earth," Sakura said plainly, keeping her gaze fixed on the scroll. "My turn," Naruto said, grabbing a sheet, which crumpled after splitting in two. Naruto turned to Sakura and asked, "What's that?" "I can't find it." Sakura snapped another glance at the scroll. "Would I mean?" inquired Naruto. Sakura thumbed through the scroll once more and remarked, "It states that the paper is supposed to crumple when you have an affinity for lightning, but it's only supposed to split in half when you have an affinity for wind." Naruto put the 2 crumpled pieces of paper in his pocket and said, "Maybe I have both. Cool, then." With no signs of nervousness, Shikamaru drew lead. "Yuhiro guys? I don't want to ruin your fun, but the try station starts in a few minutes. We should get going to the field now." Sakura craned her neck to look at a nearby clock and said, "Really?" When she asked, "It's 3:59 p.m. right now. The try station starts at 4, Naruto replied. "Run?" inquired Shoji. Ino nodded, "Run," and they started running in the direction of the field, arriving just in time. A few teachers were among the many parents and students in the crowd. "Okay. First is the obstacle course. Second is a component where you'll have to transport the water in tank A to tank B in a set amount of time using what you're given. The last station will be to see who can catch Torah first. She's loose, again, this time in the forests, so you'll have to try and catch her. Normally, this is done by Genin teams and their Junin senseis, but we have academy teachers stationed around the forest and you'll be in groups of 7, not 3. Also, all the other Genin have either passed the Chunin exams, are taking a break, or a Euro." Iruka trailed off, not wanting to say that some, or had ceased to be shinobi. "All of you line up behind the yellow line." The teams started running as soon as a horn sounded. When they reached a small building, they opened the door and ducked inside because they had nowhere else to go. Sakura muttered, "I can't see a thing, it's pitch black in here." As she stood up and heard the gentle susurrus of cloth, Ino's voice came from the left. "Oof. Was that Ayuro wall? I think we're in Ayuro maze?" A voice from the far right said, "So we have to work together and get out of the maze?" Clearly, it belonged to Sasuke. Shoji muttered, "We're all in the same maze?" Muttering, "Ith. Think S.So, Hinata said. They heard a few gentle brushstrokes as Naruto muttered, "Wait a second," and then a light flared up on his hand. Naruto mockingly asked Kiba, Still think they're just squiggles? Before continuing, Kiba muttered, less talking, more walking, and led them all along a recently found path. Wait. I remember that, outside, on the door, there was a hint. It said you have to be blind to get out of the maze. Sakura responded. Kiba arched an eyebrow, meaning? I don't know. Well, blind people can't see, so let's feel around for something, said Choji. A few seconds later, Hinata exclaimed, ITH. Think IF. Found S. Something. When Hinata said, great job, Hinata, the others rushed to her location. Sakura stared at what appeared to be a hint. There are Euro arrows. 3 arrows protruded from a panel. A squiggly yellow one pointing to the corridor running right. A green one pointing to the corridor to their left. And a red one pointing to the corridor at the front. So we take the corridor that the green one points to because green means go, right? Ino replied. No, remember, you have to be blind. Blind people can't see, much less see colors, so they would use their sense of touch. And the yellow one would be the only one whose shape stands out, because it's different. We follow the yellow one, said Shikamaru. They dashed into another room and down the hallway. They followed a squiggly green panel and located another one. At last, they discovered themselves ascending stairs to a tiny chamber. When they opened the door, they discovered a big lion dozing at the bottom, obstructing their path. The water tanks with a marker to indicate the water level were beyond it. It steadily heaved up and down. It's asleep, Ino muttered to herself. Hinata remarked, N. No, it's N. Not R. Real. Ino inquired, how can you tell, L? Look, she said, wrapping her arms around the lion's head and tossing it aside. The lion was reduced to a device that made it appear as though it was breathing by releasing timed air bursts, dozing off. Th. They'd H. Have T.tos. Said Th. This U. Up AD.day B. Before Th. The A. Actual E. Event T.tom. Make S. Sure E. Everything I.isr. Ready B.byt. Today. A. And I. If Th. The L. Lions B. Bin T. Trapped H. Here since Y. Yesterday. I.itw. Would H. Have G. Gotten Th. Thirsty A. And D. Drank S. Some O. Of Th. The W. Water. B. But Th. The W. Water L. Level I.isth. The S. Same A.asth. The M. Marker S. So a euro. Hinata trailed off and poked her fingers together nervously. Ino exclaimed, you're amazing, Hinata, as they made their way to the tank. N.no, Hinata uttered while glancing at her feet. Look up, and don't keep poking your fingers together like that, Sakura said, pulling her hands to her sides as she slowly raised her head. Uma euro. Hinata hesitated, uneasy. There are only a few cups here, Choji remarked as she raised the cups. 7 total. Ino shoved Hinata in the direction of tank A, where the others were, and remarked, we're supposed to get all the water over before we can go catch this Torah, right? Above the tanks, a timer began to count down. As Kiba used the cup to scoop out some water, the water slowly trickled out from a hole at the bottom. We're supposed to use whatever we have in this room, but all we have are some titchy thimble cups, Kiba grumbled. And they've got holes in them too. Sakura gestured to the device in the skin, saying, whatever we have in this room? Then we can use the fake lion, right? I think we can use this, Ino said, pulling the lion skin over to the tank. The inside is made of latex and those water-resistant synthetic fur. It's waterproof. Choji pointed to the device and said, maybe we can also use the large hose there for a siphon. When he got no response, he continued, my mom owns a few fishes. She has to clean out their tank by using a siphon, aka the large hose there. Okay. Choji, you do the C. Whatever thing, Ino, Hinata and Sakura will form a human chain and transfer the water to each other's cups into the tank. Naruto, Shikamaru and I'll use the lion skin to collect the water and dump it into the tank. Got it? Kiba inquired prior to receiving several nods. They began moving the water, shouting encouragements to each other as the liquid sloshed about like a metronome. With just a few minutes remaining, they were able to move the water into the tank, and the water level was just a few centimeters below the threshold. As they hurried out the door, they discovered Sasuke's group had already fled into the forest, with Kisa remaining just long enough to give them a triumphant grin. Iruka said, good job, guys. You're the second group to complete the first 2 tasks. I'm going in to check that you really have transferred all the water, and then she vanished through the door. He then stated, "You passed the second station, but the third station is a little harder. You'll be competing in the forest with all the other groups to catch Torah." Sakura inquired, "What's a Torah, sensei?" In place of Iruka, Naruto responded, "A cat. A demon cat. I know how it looks like." Given that Naruto had no family, Iruka raised an eyebrow in response to the statement, "Ni-san told me." However, he chose not to bring up the subject. Iruka gave the forest a nod and said, "Once you've found Torah, you're to report back here, now go." The group of 7 sprinted into the forest. As they looked for Torah, they were soon surrounded by a canopy and thick green foliage. Before long, a flurry of pink and agitated cries erupted from their left. "Get it! Somebody, hit it! We can't hit it, it's Lady Shijimi's cat." "I don't care, it's too fast, someone just grab the damn thing." Sasuke's team trundled after them as they chased after a brown blur that flew by. Kiba questioned, "What do we do now?" "Naruto, you're good with traps, right? Set one up and ensnare it, then talk to it. Use the shintention on the cat. I know you can't talk when you're in an animal's body, but Naruto can understand." "Probably. Choji and Kiba, you'll be the ones to chase the cat to the trap in a pincer formation," said Shikamaru. Naruto questioned, "Then what about Hinata? She'll be the one to locate the cat." "What about you and Sakura? I'll be the backup, Sakura'll run for help if either of us is hurt." "Got it. Hinata, can you see Torah anywhere?" Ino responded. After a series of hand seals, Hinata exclaimed, "Byakugan," before looking around. "There," she said, gesturing in an apparently arbitrary direction. The other 2 stayed behind as the 5 ran off in that direction. At last, they discovered Torah cleaning herself with her tongue while sun tanning idly on a rock. Naruto started working frantically to set up the traps. The cat was then attacked by Kiba and Choji. After giving a startled start, Torah fled in Naruto's direction. Hinata scared it into approaching the blonde by running ahead of it. As the ground slid out from under its paws and it felt something close around its leg, Torah let out a startled yowl. Before the cat struck a black mark on the tree and another rope snagged out and bound his other paw, it was dangling from the rope, hissing and yowling as it attempted to cut itself free. The cat let out a startled screech. Ino performed shintention, seizing the moment. After jerking, the cat went limp. As Ino's body sagged to the ground, it opened its eyes once more and remained motionless and submissive. After cutting the ropes, Kiba placed the cat on the ground with care. "This body is tiny. I can barely see my legs, but I didn't know this cat was so fit," Ino mumbled. Naruto shrugged as they emerged from the forest and saw Sasuke's team minus Kisayuro, running toward Iruka with Torah. "It runs from Genin nearly every day." "What would you expect?" he asked. They also started running and arrived at the teacher simultaneously. Iruka declared, Sasuke's team brought Kisa in a henge of Torah, which made the team members flush because their sensei had seen through the henge. The team let out a little sigh of relief as Naruto's group stiffened. "But it passes. The condition was to bring in Torah. I never said you had to bring in the real one. But bringing in the real Torah is a plus. Naruto's team wins," Iruka declared. As Iruka collected the remaining participants, the 14 children retreated to the field. "Please gather back at the starting point while we go rescue those less unfortunate from the maze and forest." Shortly afterward, Iruka led a group of students out of the maze building as they poured out. Overall, the day was fantastic. While the others had to complete an essay about something extremely dry, such as the uses of various herbs found in the forests surrounding Konoha, they were all relieved to have won something, which was extremely difficult to believe. Together, they walked home, making stops at each other's homes. With Shiro at his side, Naruto decided to take a walk around the park and headed down the path. When he arrived at the park, it was already dark, but he felt calm. Then all of a sudden he felt nothing. The world gradually came into focus when he opened his eyes. There was a crick in his neck and he was sitting in an uncomfortable metal chair. He shuddered as the scent of blood filled his nostrils and the walls around him reverberated with the silent cries of the previous occupants. A woman with purple hair wearing a beige trench coat emerged as the door creaked slowly open. She said, "Hello, Gaki," with a sadistic smirk. The woman sat down across from him, and after they exchanged a long look, she threw her legs up on the table and reclined in her chair. "My name's Anko. Remember that, squirt," she replied. He didn't respond. With an almost taunting tone, Anko said, "Okay, down to business. Do you know why you were brought here?" Shaking his head, Naruto looked around the room, trying to find a way out. The Sandame gave me permission to ask you a few questions. He told me to question you in a Morea Euro cozy environment, but I don't coddle. First question. Do you remember the man you killed? Karasu? Enko's gaze widened. Naruto gave a nod. Enko questioned, do you know why people hire him? Naruto gave a headshake. Because, even though he's a mere common bandit, he's not really that common at all. He works for the money, but once the cash has been laid down, he doesn't ever disclose the details, and he always gets the job done, said Enko. What I want to know is how you got him to start singing like a little birdie. Naruto finally said, I don't know, realizing there was no other option. Enko blocked the door and was leaning on it because the room was small. In addition, he heard a shuffling sound just outside the door. In addition, there were no windows or, more significantly, anything that might be dangerous. She asserted, you're not lying, it wasn't so much a question as a statement. Just great. The kid doesn't know anything. Well, the real question I wanted to ask you is if you want to be sort of like my understudy. You managed to squeeze information out of Karasu, and effortlessly too, she said with a sigh. Okay, said Naruto. Are you for real? Just like that? No, I can't torture people, I'll wet my pants and shit, replied Enko. Huh? Said Naruto in a witty way. Enko yelled out the door, hey, Ibiki. Did you hear that? Gak could probably be a killer interrogator. She allowed her chair to drop back onto its four legs. The door opened to reveal a bear-sized man with scars on his face and a bandana tied around his head. He, too, had on a trench coat. Why the trench coats and interrogators? You're speaking too soon, and I thought you wanted him to try interrogating the new prisoner before saying anything, like, my name's Enko. Remember that, squirt, Ibiki said. Spoil sport, sulked Enko. The prisoner's in the next room. Do you want him to or not? He's just a child after all, Ibiki replied. He might end up like you. Enko yelled angrily, hey, I didn't end up bad, I'm sexy, and I'm single. Hell yeah, I want him to try. He cracked that clam, Karasu. I want to see what he'll do with the prisoner. Before Naruto could even object, he was pushed into the next room, where a man was sitting stoically in a metal chair that looked just like the one he had been sitting in just moments before. Observing his face, Enko sarcastically said, you don't have to if you're too scared. The blonde said, I'll get him talking in 3 minutes, as a result. Enko grinned. Oh yeah? I'll hold you to that, he said. Then, childlike, Naruto approached the man and sat down in the chair across from him, his eyes glimmering with all the purity that only a child could possess. They send a little kid to interrogate me? They've gone off their rockers, the man said. A grin stretched from ear to ear across Naruto's face, but it wasn't his typical joyful smile. As the childishness vanished, this smile promised death and suffering. Under the lights, his eyes seemed to glow an unsettling red, and they sparkled with a sadistic glee. The man flinched. The man said, hey. You don't scare me, but his body betrayed him as he began to tremble a little and perspired. Naruto approached a refrigerator made especially for the interrogators and took out a tiny vial of purple liquid. Using a mocking tone, Naruto said softly, you're an escaped convict from Kusa, correct? Naruto went on, then you should know about the myth of the poison, as the prisoner's eyes widened considerably. He smiled as he slowly uncorked the vial. It's stronger than any other poison. Even cyanide or aconite couldn't hope to match it, and it comes from a single, small, plant, he said. Naruto smiled, his childlike innocence returning. They're called dragon's tears. It's so slow and painful that even a dragon, the toughest creature to ever walk the earth, would weep in pain. And the thing about pain, he said, is that it hurts. The man in the metal chair jerked, but his bonds were too tight to let him get out. The scent of grapes reached his nostrils as the vial was brought close to his mouth. The man grinned as he gradually regained his confidence and asked, then why does it smell like grape juice? The purple rivulet hovered on the edge of the vial, and the man said, have you ever heard of a wolf in sheep's clothing? You wouldn't ever know that this was a poison until it slips down your throat, before he finally broke. The man's eyes were filled with fear as he yelled, okay, I'll talk. Just get that thing away from me. Smirking, Naruto corked the vial once more and withdrew it. After staring in disbelief, Enko smiled. After she had taken him under her wing, the child would become an excellent interrogator. Naruto declared, I win, and the vicious child who had questioned the man vanished into thin air. I'll take over from here. But first, give me back that vial. It's dangerous, she said. It is actually just grape juice, the blonde said softly in her ear. Her gaze expanded. She laughed. Before leaving the room, Naruto placed the vial in Anko's hand and said, "Dragon's tears does exist, but it's so rare that it's almost a myth. Besides, it's colorless and odorless, not purple and smelling like grapes. I just poured a bit of the grape juice into an empty vial. I found both in the fridge." Anko declared, "You are officially my unofficial understudy," before approaching the man to ask him questions.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.